Welcome back, everybody, for maybe the most anticipated matchup over here in EU in the Phase 2 SCC playoffs. We asked you guys to show us how you're watching, and Fuzzy was kind enough to reply. He's about to cast this set, so let's see how he is set up. You got the games on, relaxing, drinking, making sure he's ready to cast this big set. You can tweet at us too, #CircuitPlayoffs @SMITE Pro, and we might show your tweets here on stream as well. But it is not me alone here for our second set of the day. Lermy Wormy joins me. It is Belt Slap versus Poppies. Lermy, this one ever so important, moving on to the finals here of the Phase 2 playoffs. Do you think this one could be close, given what we've seen out of Europe so far?
Oh, absolutely. These guys have been kind of back and forth pretty much the whole time here. And with the way that the Poppies played yesterday, I'm sure that they can come into this game swinging. And hopefully Belt Slap can reply to them here, because clearly Poppies have been the ones that have been dominating this tournament, even though it's both those games actually ended up 2-1. I'm kind of more impressed, really, with the Poppies' performance, since we felt like it seemed like Belt Slap was kind of playing down. The fact that they dropped their first ever game was kind of insane.
Right, it's the expectations are high. They might not have reached them. Of course, moving on to the finals, as mentioned, very important, though. You're going to have a game in hand. It is a best-of-5 finals, but whoever wins this matchup will be in there already one game up in that best-of-5s. Of course, whichever team loses won't be out necessarily. They'll just be a game down if they're able to make their way to the finals nonetheless. Let's talk a little bit about the two teams that we have matching up here, though, Wormy. You got to look at Belt Slap, and kind of what we've mentioned is that you come into this weekend, you win Phase 1 playoffs, you drop a single game, however many weeks ago, you don't lose a single game all through the SCC here, and you lose one to now what should be an SOC team to keep your eye on. Where do you think the Belt Slap team confidence is going into this matchup?
They've got to be a little shaken yesterday. I mean, it's always tough to lose up against an SOC team, but especially as an undefeated team, it really will be a hit to the morale. But these guys are very tenured players. They've been in tough situations before, so with the leadership they've got a ton of previous SPL talent, so they can definitely come back in this, rile up the boys, and get ready to go for this matchup.
Yeah, I suppose it's important to remember that we're talking about what are they going to do after losing a single game? They haven't even lost the set. We're wondering where the confidence stands after just losing a game. So that's a really good spot to be. And this is a team that you mentioned spearheaded by a lot of different talent. Their opponents, though, in the Poppies, you said you may think that you're maybe more impressed with what you've seen out of them here in this weekend. They get the 2-1 win in the first round, now face a tough opponent in Belt Slap. You look towards the Poppies, and maybe Chekio is a guy who needs to step up here today.
Chekio had a phenomenal performance yesterday. I mean, we saw at the end of that set where he pulled out the triple kill on the Scylla. We tend to think that Scylla's not really the top of the meta. You'd think that characters like Merlin, Discordia, Raijin, Persephone, all up there, but not only did he play well on the Scylla, he popped off on the Thoth as well, and that's kind of another of that mid to low tier mid laner that doesn't get played a whole lot, but in the right niche circumstances can be pulled out, and we saw it happen yesterday. I mean, Chekio did a great job.
Yeah, and especially today, you're going up against a talent like Zeros, and that's got to bring a little extra weight into that game, where Zeros hasn't necessarily been the standout star so far for Belt Slap, but absolutely there in these big pivotal moments. That is maybe a good segue to talk about Belt Slap a little bit. And obviously with a star-studded roster, there's a lot of ways I think you can look at this team and maybe who needs to step up. Of course, the long lane, very recognizable names, mid lane as well, really all across the board after how they've played so far. But Julio and Johnny, that kind of 1-2 punch out of the solo lane in the jungle has actually been maybe one of the biggest driving forces for a lot of Belt Slap success.
They've been doing a great job at working together, and especially off the back of Julio's intense CC. He actually had to play up against some really strange matchups yesterday, as, Mogal likes to play literally whatever he wants. So, of course, if he can beat that, then really Julio can do anything. And Julio was the one to really lead these guys back to the victory. And we saw in game number 2, at least, that he really did try his best on his classic tier, getting a ton of triple fearlesses. So hopefully he's able to bring that out again. But if I'm against them, I mean, the Poppies have got to be concerned about that too.
Yeah, I apparently you can count on these big triple CC chains if you're on Julio's team, and I agree. I think it's something Poppies need to look out for. I am curious though. You look in the jungle, Johnny, not necessarily that he's shown all of his cards, but we know that he likes these kind of late game hyper carry junglers. If you're the Poppies, is that something you think is even worthwhile identifying in the ban phase of things, or is his being Johnny's god pool wide enough that it's almost not worth all those extra bans?
Johnny does have a surprisingly wide god pool for someone who has never been in the SPL before. He definitely can pull into some of those gods, like he's played the Hubwa before, and he, like you said, he's known for his famous hyper carries in the Kali and Bakasura, so of course, Marcus will kind of have to deal with that on the other end of things, and he is certainly not too unfamiliar with that side of hyper carrying either. He's a very strong jungler too, but I mean, they've got to really pick and choose there. Do they want to deal with it? Do they have a strategy to deal with it? That's kind of what we're going to be seeing here in picks and bans.
Yeah, I'm very excited to see how these teams adapt towards one another. Maybe a lot of similarities across the aisle, but as you mentioned, picks and bans will answer a lot of those questions for us for game number 1. Of course, Persephone has been the big buzzword here this weekend, not let through at all, and Poppies being the second pick here. I imagine that'll continue. I think maybe Belt Slap is kind of a hard team to lock down because when you bring the talent that you have there's so many different avenues you can kind of work your way through. So I think the Poppies might have to be reactive here in this pick ban phase. But the Emoja band out first overall here from Belt Slap. It's a pretty strong statement identifying that long lane from the Poppies.
Yeah, I think that they just don't want to deal with the Poppies getting fed. I mean, Draco Marino is an insane support. We talked about him a lot on the desk yesterday and how insane he can be at just showing up to literally every single fight. So the fact of the matter is they don't want him on that high-pressure healing support. And speaking of healing, none of it whatsoever. Get that Afro out of here. Don't want to deal with it at all.
Yeah, you won't find me complaining about an Aphrodite ban, and Belt Slap are going to take her away. Sobek has been a pretty popular ban here this weekend as well. Against the Poppies, 100% ban rate. Against Belt Slap, 100% ban rate. But all in the SEC, 85%. Why this focus so heavily on getting Sobek out of the pick phase?
It just really seems like he's very good at setting up. He more so sits in the solo lane now than the support, so just having that character that can kind of stalemate the lane and then show up in the late game swinging is a big concern. But last ban here for the Poppies, I've got to say it's probably going to be the Morrigan, and as I'm saying it, there it is. Everyone's afraid of Zeros' Morrigan, and they're not going to let that through. And honestly, I don't think Zeros really cares. We saw him play Giannis and Kronos yesterday, two characters that don't really ever get touched at this level. They mostly want to play like the very meta stuff, but instead, he, like I said, he just doesn't care. He'll play what he wants.
I'm a big fan of the Ganesh, so I'm happy that Belt Slap are going to move towards him for the first overall pick here. We've seen, really, in compositions that maybe don't have all this automatic free engage, Dharmic Pillar's such a viable tool in setting up these big fights here for your team. Capri answered back by the Poppies, so already both supports locked in here. Wormy, what do you like in the Ganesh? What do you like in the Capri? And does either team win maybe in that support battle in your eyes?
Having these kind of defensive or more kind of setting up supports is really popular in this meta, especially because we've seen that big shift to Golden Blade, where a lot of those hyper carry junglers like the Kali and the Bakasura do get picked up a lot. So having a Kepri to give that second life to that carry is always super, super nice to have. And of course, Rom getting picked up here as well. He can kind of be that hyper carry. Doesn't have the best early game, but even still, he can pull through thanks to those recent changes he got to the Astral Arrows. But on the other side, that is the tier for Julio. And if I'm Poppies, I gotta have something to deal with it.
Yeah, he's swinging 100% win rate as he's locked in here. Belt Slap putting that to the test. Chernobog as well. We saw Chernobog once in our previous set. Haven't seen him all that much overall. It's been an interesting Hunter meta. Of course, Heimdall banned out, but a lot still on the board. Rom taken away as well, sort of de facto there by the Poppies. Why maybe a Chernobog lock in here for Belt Slap?
I think having that global pressure will be really important, especially if Julio has a winning matchup. Being able to send the Chernobog over there whenever needed is always really nice just to have the option, period. Not only that, it kind of works like a secondary teleport. Say your Chernobog gets poked out during a Fire Giant fight. He's able to back off, ult back in, and kind of reset like your warrior would using that teleport. So it's pretty good, honestly, using it kind of as a more utility thing, and jumping into a fight with some mitigations and having a lot of those cooldowns reset, or even just using it to escape is a really nice thing to have as a ADC.
And Chernobog can scale quite well and do some decent damage as the game rolls on. We were wondering where the Poppies would kind of focus their ban strategy, whether it would be Johnny in the jungle, of course, lots of hyper carry potential there for himself. One slotted in, it's the Kali, so maybe Bakasura comes to the forefront of your mind, considering what Johnny may lock in here. Both teams still needing a jungler, so an opportunity for the Poppies to take one away as well. But it is a lot of Zero's mindset here for the Poppies, taking away Persephone, Morgan, Giannis. Now, Nemesis would be an interesting lock-in. Saw them a couple times yesterday, mixed success. Where do your feelings stand on Nemesis? And we're going to assume she goes to that jungle role.
I'm not going to say she's bad, but I don't like her, and I don't think she fits well with this comp. I think that, honestly, the right pick there would have been the Bakasura, because you have the Kepri to save you as the hyper carry, and you're up against a tier who is very mobility dependent, so getting out that big cripple field to slow him down would have been really useful, but not what we're going to be seeing here. We've got the Nemesis, and Nemesis is really nice in being able to help lock people down. Once you've already got that lockdown from your Kepri and Discordia, throwing out Divine Judgment is going to be nice, but we're going to be seeing the Johnny Thor. We saw Chapo pop up on this one yesterday over in NA, so bringing over the NA strats to the other side of the pond is going to be really nice to see from them, because not only do they have a ton of setup, they've got a Scylla alongside it as well, who's going to be able to do all that damage without really even trying.
Yeah, that's really the conversation around Scylla, is if you don't have this great lockdown, it's kind of player dependent on hitting those skill shots. Now you talk about a Thor dunk immediately into an I'm a Monster, obviously an ideal scenario, or even just a crush. Somebody on the Poppies is getting deleted there, but now we've got all 10 locked in here, Lermy. Game number 1, do you prefer one composition over the other?
They're both really close, but I've got to say the Poppies draft is speaking to me just a little bit more. I've got to say, though, Belt Slap, oh, they're so even, I don't really even know. I just have to see the game.
Yeah, sometimes it just comes down to the players. You heard it here first. Lermy Wormy, #1 Nemesis fan in the world. Can Belt Slap take game number 1? We'll have to go down to your casters to find out.
Thank you so much, Dulcet and Lermy. And chat, who do you think is going to win this set? Go ahead and post down a poll right there. That's going to show up on your Twitch chat. Fuzzy Wuzzy, still with me, is going to be Alpha Jackal. And Alpha, I'm kind of with Lermy. If she's the #1 Nemesis fan, I'm definitely the #2 Nemesis fan. I think that Marcus is going to have some serious problems in this jungle.
Well, where does that leave me? Am I the #3 Nemesis fan then? Because Nemesis is a really strong pick. It takes a long time for the Nemesis to get online, so it could be a bit of a waiting game here for the Pappies with their composition.
Yeah, and it just seems like that there's going to be so much control coming out of Belt Slap, and we know how much control Belt Slap has, even though they did drop that game, and I think it was the first one, I know it was the first one this entire split, but definitely looking at that first one ever dropped for them, it seemed uncharacteristic of Belt Slap to make those mistakes, so I kind of like that they're going more with the support, make sure that Zeros gets online, and then Johnny just picking Thor, and as Lerny pointed out, we saw Leon just pop up on this god.
And we can also see Ram just popping off here, damaging Arkil quite heavily. And it was actually Belt Slap's second loss overall this entire year. They lost one game last split, and that was in the split finals against, I believe it was Cold Llamas, who finished second. It was a completely different Cold Llamas team from the one that we saw this earlier today. But so far, so good for the Pappies. They're keeping themselves quite even with their composition. That's exactly where you want to be, I feel.
Yeah, and I like what Marcus is doing right now. He's stripping the jungle away completely. Already got a red buff to go away. Now he's getting the back camps, and that's going to leave a lot of pressure over on that left-hand side. And there's no jungle for Johnny to even look at. There's nothing there, even though he's going to sit there and wait for those camps to spawn. I think Chekio's realizing that he's going to be there, maybe see if he can get some damage poked off on him. But he will stay for the buff and just go ahead and go back to lane.
Does put some damage back onto Johnny, allows Marcus to stay a bit safer in his own jungle. Only just hit level 3 now, so he is a bit behind on experience. But that's all going to change once he finishes off this Golden Blade. I believe it's going to be a Golden Blade here for Marcus. This allows so much clear potential for all those auto-attack based gods. And then what's even better, it allows you to save Slice and Dice for a gank opportunity 24/7.
Well, Trick's take is going to try to go onto Draco Marino. Looked like he was going to go onto Warchi, but just missed. And Draco Marino is getting a little bit of damage done to him, but this is normal on the dual lane. We know that Trick's tank is one of those very aggressive supports, even though he is playing Ganesha, someone who doesn't quite have the best early game.
No, Ganesh doesn't struggle in the early game, I would say, but he doesn't absolutely excel. It really does depend on the ADC matchup for him. He's one of those neutral Guardians. Can get you pressure in the right circumstances, can lose you pressure in those same circumstances as well. But something we haven't really touched on is the fact that it's a double Guardian setup here for the Pappies, going for the Kumbhakana solo to go against this tier. And I'm not sure how much of a fan I am of this, given that Belt Slap don't really have many massively channeled abilities. Yes, you have the Berserk's Barrage, but once that change happened to Thor to make it a very shorter channel time, gods like Ganesh, gods like Kumbhakana just became a bit worse value pick against them.
Do you think that Creed specifically picked this Kumbhakarna so that when Chekio is throwing the apples, because we know Chekio is very good at setup gods like Scylla. We saw him really pop off on that. So having more setup with the Khepri, with Creed playing the Kumbha, would that help him get that apple off and be able to spread that damage more evenly throughout the Belt Slap team?
I believe that would be the idea. Just the amount of control that you can get with both a Khepri and a Kumbhakana on your team, you don't need the CC necessarily to come out elsewhere. You just need damage, and more damage. And that's exactly what Chekio is going to be able to bring with this Discordia. Not only is he going to be able to spread that apple, spread that strife, and that madness, but will also give the passive most likely over to Marcus in that late game, I would say. But for the early game, potentially going to go to Warchi or Creed.
Well, you definitely hope that it's going to go to Warchi, because Rama, when he starts swinging, it's going to start hurting, especially into that Chernobog. But the Chernobog, Arkill does elect to go into that Devo's Gauntlet Tier 2 rather than going for the boots, which is something that we normally see when it comes to someone who can get to lane very quickly.
It also just tells me that Arkill's not looking to rotate that much in the early game, unless he absolutely has to with his ultimate, that Living Nightmare. So he just wants to stay in lane, farm up those stacks for the next 5 minutes, and then about the 10-minute mark, that's when he's going to look to start rotating and have an impact on the game.
Well, both teams are known to play very slow and very just passive games and waiting for the right moment to strike. Belt Slap is known for that, and here might be the right moment as Thor's going to dunk in and miss, but the Dharmic Pillars will come out. Trix Tank going to go ahead and help out the rest of the squad, and Creed will be the first blood to fall after getting this passive up.
Yeah, Johnny's going to be the recipient of it. Great play there by Belt Slap to recognize a point of weakness. The pressure in the solo lane just isn't there for the Pappies, and just punish it as best as they can. Creed going for the power boots rather than going into some defense early on means that he's a very easy target to take down.
He is an easy target to take down, and when you're Scylla, you're just going to make sure that you secure your own buff with a crush and an ult, because, you know, Zeros wants to make sure he gets that red buff, because I think it's been dropped by most of the time it's been dropped by the Poppies. It's been invaded, it seems like, on a consistent basis. So securing that is kind of important for Zeros, especially since they secured the kill over on the right-hand side. The gold difference now showing around 1,300.
Yeah, and I don't mind the Scylla ult there whatsoever, considering Johnny's Anvil of Dawn is going to be your best setup. That's on cooldown. Trix Tank is probably going to look to play a tiny bit passive for the next minute whilst, you know, things reset and they try and figure out where they want to strike next. So you don't need that Iron Monster necessarily, unless you're going to get aggressed on, but there's no blink on the side of the Pappies. There's nothing like a Thor ult to come crashing down on your Thanatos ult. So you're quite safe in the mid lane as Scylla without that CC immune ultimate.
Yeah, and I think that's kind of a good reason that they picked this Scylla. You know, the only person that can really catch up to them is maybe Marcus on this Nemesis, but Scylla Sentinel just can dash away and say, no, I'm good. And as we see the Nemesis making a slow rotation over to see if maybe they can get picked up by Arko, but she does get picked up by the ward. Marcus going to pop that shield, just reflect a tiny bit of damage over to Johnny, and that's just going to be the end of the engagement.
I think it was just that Reflect was more to make sure he doesn't take a double tap worth of damage, and Thor then teleports in Berserker's Barrages and probably gets a kill. But thanks to that healing coming out from that Reflect, that just doesn't happen. That opportunity is escaped there from Johnny.
Well, and right now, it seems like Chekio and Draco Marine are just playing a really slow game. Are they just kind of waiting to see what kind of happens? Because Trixchenk has been one of those guys that will start slowly aggressing at this early point of the game because he is level 7 and he can start doing that. Once he starts aggressing more, are they going to start looking for him to specifically pick up the Ganesh, or are they maybe just hoping that Trixtank blows his whole ability kit and then just focus on the Zeros?
It's difficult to say. If I'm on the side of the Pappies, I've got good counter engage, but I've also got good single target poke potential coming out from a long range route followed by Nemesis ult and Discordia Apple. But it can be undone by just a massive Anvil of Dawn coming out from Johnny. It could be undone by Trix Tank getting that Ohm off in the right time. So if you're the side of the Pappies, you have to be careful about when you choose to take your engagements. You have to make sure that some of the disruption from the Belt Slap team is down. Otherwise, the CC chain that you're looking to implement is just going to fall flat on its face in the first hurdle.
Yeah, and you really need that CC setup, especially in this early game for Zeros, because I think once Zeros gets online, I'd say about that level 12, when they get that second relic, that's when you're going to start seeing Zeros maybe rotate more, try to get into these team fights. And with how even both Zeros and Checkio are when it comes to just play style and aggression, and the fact that they're both just mechanically great, it would be kind of hard to differentiate who is going to be the ultimate victor. And I think that this matchup goes down to this mid lane combination.
I'm thinking the mid lane impact is going to be vital here, you're right. Zeros on Scylla, nothing more should be said about Scylla. Did you know that one Scylla ultimate can change the entire game? Just one Scylla ultimate can change the entire game. Did you know that?
Oh, yeah, we saw it literally yesterday when Checkio was able to get not only 1 but 2 kills with that I'm a Monster, and that's just something that Scylla is known for, and you can end games based off of those team fights. So making sure that you get the Scylla just fall behind a little bit, but the same can be said on the side of Discordia. One large Apple ultimate, just spreading all of that around, that does like some crazy amounts of damage, and I think that's why Checkio picked this one. And not only did they pick it for that reason, this is one of Checkio's best gods.
Yeah, Discordia fills that same role as Scylla, as long-range poke goddess, for example. That Strife over the wall is really deadly, just because of how much damage and how much poke potential it can do. Up in the sky is Warchi. He has to come landing down at some point, and Johnny will be there when he is.
Well, Warchi is going to be able to get revived from the Capri ult. Nemesis is going to go ahead and ult on the Trix Tank. The Crush over the wall will not secure it. Johnny just missing the wall onto Marcus, but Johnny's going to go back in and Anvil, and maybe see if he can get something. A root will come up from the Capri, but it will just miss. And that just seems to be there. But look who made the rotation all the way over from solo. It will be Julio, but nothing really comes from it.
Yeah, they just had the opportunity to catch Warchi out there, and they forced his ultimate. They managed to force out the Kepri revive as well. Just look at the side. Look at the side of Pappies. How many ultimates are expended there versus the side of Belt Slap? It's a 4-3 trade in favor of Belt Slap. So they can look to just aggress yet again. Trix Tank ultimate's going to come back up quite shortly. Marcus is playing very aggressively to Johnny's jungle. Almost gets rewarded for it with a kill, but Arkil is here on the rotation to protect his jungler and protect his jungle's farm.
That was really close, and you better thank Arkil, Johnny, that you didn't die there, because that would have been very bad, especially since Johnny was that only first blood kill and the only kill in the game. So making sure that he gets that down and making sure that the junglers, now that even though they're even, one kill could swing it into the jungle favor. And if Marcus had that, it could have been a little bit interesting and a little bit detrimental for the Belt Slap squad.
But the thing for Belt Slap here is, as Trix Tank uses his Starry Pillars to secure one of the Oracles to deny division to the Pappies, they are ahead in terms of gold by the tune of about 1,500. It's not looking so great here. Sorry, 2,500. my math is wrong. So the Pappies, it's a slow start for them, but this is the start which has always been the most dangerous when you're facing them. When you have this slight lead and you can't seem to force anything off of it, you just get frustrated at times, and you then just lose one team fight to the Pappies, and that's game over, because the Pappies literally do not lose when they are ahead.
No, they haven't lost when they're ahead, and we've even seen yesterday that they even win when they're behind. It doesn't matter how far behind they are always in this game. And that's just something to be said about the Poppies squad and how dominant they have been playing, because even last split, they weren't necessarily the best. They were down in the bottom in the mid-tiers, but they still wanted these fights. As Johnny's going to try to get onto Marcus. Marcus is going to be getting away with just a little bit of health. Draco Marino now is the target. He will go ahead and try to revive himself to give that little movement speed, a little CC reduction, and go ahead and disengage. But Warchi is here, so maybe they can get something as Trix Tank will drop the pillars on the Draco Marino. He's going to get Ohms. It's going to happen. Johnny's going to go ahead and pick up the kill, and Warchi having to play speeds just to see if he can get away. That will be 2 kills for Belt Slap, both of them going on to Johnny. Oh, but Johnny's going to go back up. He might actually look for this red buff. We know that Marcus might be his target. He does land on Marcus. He's going to get the stun as Zeros picks up 1. Zeros picks up 2. That is a double kill for Zeros.
Oh, but that's all set up by Johnny. I'm sorry, Johnny deserved both of those kills. he just continues to impress every single time he plays. A Belt Slap off the back of their jungler. Pick up their 4th kill, their 3rd kill, their 2nd kill, the Gold Fury. and have blown this lead wide open. They've doubled their lead near enough, especially in the experience department. That graph is just spiked up.
And that's exactly what you want to see happen if you are Belt Slap. You do have I would argue, a later game teamfight comp with the Scylla and the Thor just for the setup alone, but then you're also giving gold over to the people who really need it, which is Johnny and Julio. I think those two definitely need the gold so that Julio can start rotating over into these fights, because if Julio can get these 2, 3, 4-man Fearlesses into a Scylla ultimate or to a Scylla Crush that will half health a level 9 Kepri at this point in the game, that's just disaster if I'm the Poppies.
Trickstack is going to make it even more difficult for the Pappies to peel him away, because he's going into that Magi's cloak. Blue buff invade happening once again from Julio. He's going to be able to take it, and I think that's the right idea, Marcus. Just go away. You're not going to be able to deal with this tier. He has so much health, so much movement speed, has the blink as well, and is Julio on tier.
Well, Chekio seems to be the target. The beats and Aegis will be popped. Scylla is going to go up into the ult. The Ohm, the Scylla ult will hit. Zeros is on a killing spree with that I'm a Monster now. Doesn't have enough mana, so we'll have to back away. And the rest of the Belt Slap squad, recognizing that, just going to go ahead and farm up. And this is Belt Slap. Yesterday, I don't think we were watching Belt Slap. We were watching a more, I would say, more confident team, but look at this. I mean, they're just half-healthing the squad. They're rotating around efficiently. This is the Belt Slap that we know and love, and they're almost playing this as perfect as possible.
Well, this is the Belt Slap that everyone wanted to see. It's the ones that the second they see you in the jungle, they will throw abilities at you and fight you. Look at that. Doesn't even care about the rep up at that point. Wants to just double tap Marcus and try and kill him rather than looking for the farm. And I think that's something a lot of teams do struggle with when they're getting towards this sort of level of play, when they're getting into the SCC. They struggle to make that adjustment of, most of the time it's better to try and fight when you have the advantage than it is to invade and take away some of the camps. Sometimes it's better to fight defensively than it is to fight aggressively. And Belt Slap here are putting on a clinic of how it should be done.
They've been putting on a clinic for how it should be done for, I could argue, 2 splits, as they are the reigning champions of the SCC. And to me, it's going to be a little bit difficult for them to do it, but if anybody can do it, I think it's going to be this Poppy squad. They're still down, but they're not going to be out. We've seen them come back from greater leads yesterday. We've seen them come back from greater leads all splits. They still have this in them.
They still do, but the control on their team is limited to 2 or 3 characters, because Warchi and Marcus have no hard CC. Well, they have got the cripple on Warchi, but that's pretty much it. It's just slows outside of that. So the Wingblade on tier, Julio's immediately negated 2 of them, straight off the bat. All the health that he's built means that he only really has to worry about the Nemesis ultimate coming out from Nemesis, and he's just going to be A-okay. Look at him, he's level 16, running at Drake and Marino and Marcus, and they can't do anything. Creed's left by himself to try and defend his own blue buff. He just can't do it. Shekio's left by himself in mid lane, and he's just going to be punished for it.
Oh, and Zeros was almost punished for it. A blink will come out from Marcus to try to see if he can land on him. Creed will go ahead and mez, but can't pick up the kill Marcus, so that will be the disengage. And that is 4 kills for an... Scylla is now 2 levels, I would argue almost 3 levels ahead of the Chekio, and you don't want a Scylla to be this far ahead at 16 minutes in the game. Even though it's 6-0, they've been a part of 4 of the kills.
And that's just how this Belt Slap team composition was designed. It was just let the early game be the early game. If we get some invades off, great. If we get invaded on, that's just going to happen. If we're forced to take fights defensively, then we have to. Johnny going to get out by the skin of his teeth. But once this Belt Slap composition hit mid-game, it's all about, right, where's Scylla? Let's fight around Zeros. Where's Johnny? Has he got his Anvil of Dawn up? Let's fight around that. And they've just been methodical with when they fought. They've looked for poke every single opportunity they've got, don't get me wrong. But they haven't looked for a full-on team fight unless they had the proper tools up.
Yeah, and that's what makes Belt Slap so great. And we even saw it. The tools were available for an engagement, but you saw that Johnny was alone. And then all of a sudden he wasn't alone because Trickshank was able to ohm and get him out. Even though he had to waste the burn the beads and the ultimate to get out, I think that's a huge win for Belt Slap because he didn't die. There's going to be so much gold on the bounty for specifically Johnny alone that it's just scary to think that if he dies, this could spell disaster. I mean, just look at how much damage he did to Marcus.
If he teleports in there and gets his hi-rez proc off on that basic attack, I think he may have actually got the kill onto Marcus because he still us out. But as you said, he probably then dies for that teleport in because Chekio's going to be there, has his Golden Apple Discord up, has that strife and has that madness. So it is not going to be the easiest thing for him to escape from. So good disciplined play as well from Beltslap.
Well, now Draco Marino seems to be the target because he plucked in, but can't quite get away because the root that occurred. But Trix Tank was throwing out the Ohm. Rotation from the solo lane over from the Kumbhakarna making a rotation as Czechio's going to throw the ult. It will not hit, but Johnny will fall as Warchi picks it up, and this is exactly what you want if you are the Poppies. Now they can look at this Oni Fury, and that's something
look at what Julio is, though.
Desperately need. But Julio is in the back. Julio's going to push 2 into the Dark Pillars. A blink comes out. Trickshank trying to peel for his mid laner. Up in the air is that Rom going to throw out the snipes. Marcus is trying to be in the back, trying to see if he can get some damage done, but damage is done to him. Julio's getting Lawbringer over the wall. Not going to connect, and that's just going to be that little bit of an engagement, but Zeros does have the ultimate, so they still look to push this. As the blink comes in from Julio, Aegis coming out as well. Arkil has now made the rotation with his ultimate to see if he can get into the fight and then land on Marcus, but Julio's looking a little bit weak. Julio will fall to Warchi, and that's 2 for Warchi. Now Trix Tank and Arkil are sitting here and sitting ducks, as Trix Tank now is taking a lot of audio as Czechio picks him up. This is huge if you're Poppies, and this is why you don't count them out.
No, but they could be looking at the wrong end of the barrel here, because Gold Fury is wide open. They've all had to back, but Marcus recognizes this, comes straight back. What a turnaround for the Pappies. Get 1 pick onto Johnny, take a 4 versus 5 fight. Granted, they didn't get any kills in that 4 versus 5 fight, but Beltslap, for the first time in this game, have made a fatal error. They overextended massively to a fight that they didn't really need to take. Just reset, wait for Johnny to come back up, and then take the Oni Fury. Yeah, because Pappies were giving it up. They weren't wanting to do it because of how low they were. But now you give them an opportunity to reset and take this fight on their terms yet again. Beltslap are in an awkward spot at this point, I would say, despite their gold lead.
Well, Johnny's going to go up in the air to see if maybe he can steal it, but it's not going down fast enough for his liking. He's going to come back down, but the Poppies get it anyway, and Zeros picks up Marcus in the back, but Johnny is the target. The I'm a Monster does not connect. Creed will pick up Johnny, and that will be it. The Poppies get the Gold Fury, but they lose 1 and 1 for trade. It was jungle for jungle.
Yeah, and I think they're going to take that trade every single day of the week. Not only do they get a higher level jungler kill in return for their jungler, but they also get the Gold Fury. And that is, you know, far above and beyond, much more worthwhile than anything they could have picked up in a more prolonged engagement.
Yeah, I feel like that if Beltslap kind of prolonged that engagement, it would have turned out a little bit poor because these Oni minions are now just gone. The Oni Fury was nothing more than just to get a little bit more tankier minions and a little bit more gold in the way of Poppies. So that gold lead now only 4,000 in favor of Beltslap rather than the 6,000 we saw a little bit earlier. And I think that's what they need. Poppies just need to stay around this 3,000 to 4,000 gold difference, and they can still be in this game.
And once more, the composition is starting to take effect, starting to get online. You know, Marcus is starting to get up into his next item, which I believe is going to be either an Executioner or a Kin size. I don't see it being an Assay here. Warchi has got both of those items already in the Executioner and Kin size, so he's going to shred through Trix Tank. Julio's just nothing to him. He just slices through him like butter at this point. And the Titan's Bane on top is going to mean it's game over for any tank that he sees. Even if Johnny does decide to go into some protections, he's going to fall, you know, just as much as he would do if he was pure assassin. And then Marcus finishes up that Executioner. Discordia still building up to that Soul Reaver. I'm waiting for Discordia to finish Soul Reaver and Soul Gem before we start to see Czechio really pump out those damage numbers.
And Czechio is the one to watch out for in these damage numbers because one good apple can turn the tide, just like one good I'm a Monster will turn the tide as well. And they want to make sure that Czechio gets up there. He is a level down. He has died 3 times. He has been the focus of this Beltslap team, recognizing that he can be one of those team members that can turn the game.
It's just been also unfortunate that Zeros is also the focus of Beltslap in keeping him safe, keeping him topped up, and keeping him, you know, able to slam down the damage numbers for as long as he can in these fights. Zeros has the bounty on his head. 5-0 and 0 would get the shutdown gold on top of any kill bounty that's on top of Zeros' head right now. So Pappies, if they're looking for one person in the fight, it's going to be Zeros, because then you can probably lose 2 people and still come out ahead on top in terms of the gold trade.
You say that, but it's going to be very difficult for the Poppies to even get to Zeros. He is attached to Trix Tank at the hip, making sure that no one is really there. He's a little bit away from him now, but I think that's just to make sure they want to ward up for this possible Pyromancer or the Pyromancer fight. This Trix Tank's going to get hit with the Strife, get a little bit of poke down to him. Johnny's going to throw out the wall, the blink, and the duck comes out. But the beads, Marcus is going to go ahead and go onto Johnny. Johnny's the target, but Johnny will not fall. He will get the ultimate off and available. But over from the left-hand side, Arkel's going to land on the Chekio. Johnny's going to land back down to see if maybe he can get Chernobog landing onto Marcus, but does not happen. And that will be the entire disengagement. But throughout this time, Rom on the left-hand side, Warchi, is able to get this tier 1 tower. Even though the Pyromancer is going to get started by Belt Slap and possibly taken, they might lose 2 towers for this trade.
Yeah, the only reason that Warchi stayed over on this side is because Arkell used that Living Nightmare to go over towards that fight by himself. And Draco Marino is going to get revived here thanks to the Scarab's Blessing, but surrounded and body blocked. He is too bootylicious for the Pappies. And there goes a kill for Arkell. Chekio's going to shut him down, though, so 1-for-1 trade so far for Pappies and Belt Slap in this fight. Trix Tank could be the next one on the block. Gets mesmerized. Out comes the root as well, but no further damage follow-up. They're just being a bit too tame here at the Pappies.
And that's what kind of the Poppies are wanting. They just want to make sure they can get something out of that. So that gold lead that was at 1.4,000 when we mentioned it is now 2,000, even though they got the Pyromancer, and that's specifically because of this left-hand side. Warchi the entire time just pushed down tier 1, pushed down tier 2. He's level 20. He can start rotating into these fights, and when Warchi starts getting into these team fights, that is a scary thing, especially as you mentioned the build. Tanks just don't exist in Warchi's mind.
He's not really there to hit the Scylla. He's not there to hit Johnny. He's there to hit the frontliners that are in his face. Julio is going to be in his face as much as he can be. And I like the recognition from Julio that Warchi has not gone crit. So instead of going for the Spectral Armor, he's gone in for the Midgardian Mail just to try and slow down some of that basic attack damage coming out from Warchi. But it's also going to help himself peel Marcus. Because Nemesis, if he tries to stick to Julio, it's not going to happen.
Yeah, that Nemesis is definitely going to be one to watch out for in these fights, as Julio's going to go ahead and go on to Draco Marino just to see if maybe he can get him out of position. The Abduct will just be able to get away, but recognizing there's no much follow-up, Zeros will just go ahead and keep farming and keep that gold grinding, because now he's building into that Soul Gem as well.
Like I said, Soul Gem is going to be a big item for both Scylla and Discordia, just because they, like I said, they are poke-based mages. They want to poke you out, they want to do some damage over the wall from a safe distance, and then once you've been hit by 2 or 3 Crushed Sikkim combos, that's when the fight really starts, and that's when they slam down the Armor Monster. So if you're able to poke them down to half health quicker with that Soul Gem proc coming out every so often, it's going to be a lot better for you to then start those engagements.
Well, it seems like that the fights are now starting to go around this Fire Giant. We're 25 minutes into the game, and that's about the time you want to do this. All levels seem to be pretty even except for the supports and 1 level in the jungle. That's going to be 1 level difference between Marcus and Johnny, and that's just simply because of kills and participation from Johnny. Zeros, though, still has that gold bounty on his head. Julio seem to be the target, but he's going to go ahead. Can't do too much to him, as Trix Tank now is going to make the rotation. The Dharmic Pillar's come out. Arkell's going to come out now, and Chekio's going to hit Arkell with the apple, but it will not spread because he was away from everybody else. So now up in the air, Rama's going to try to land some snipes, but in the air, Johnny comes crashing down on the Creed. Doesn't do a whole lot of damage, but the own from Trix Tank to keep everybody silent in that little corridor to make sure everything's great. But Warchi going to roll in to see if maybe he can get something to come out of it, but nothing really there for either team. He's still trying to throw out some autos to see if maybe someone will step up. But neither team will fall, and neither team really give up too much other than a few ultimates and a few relics.
Yeah, and I'd say, as the number 3 Nemesis fan in the world, I'm not so certain of Marcus's ultimate choices in this game so far. Because every single time it seems to go onto Johnny just to force him to stay a bit further back. But that's just allowing free reign for Julio and Trix Tank to play as aggressively as they want. Yes, Julio has that wing blade, so the slow won't come out, but that protection reduction for your team is going to be so vital for them to take him down. That instant health reduction as well is the biggest thing against Julio. You're actually taking off 1,000 health, you're most likely from full health. Draco Marino's going to get revived there, going to skip out on the Armor Monster damage, but so far, everyone's getting blown up by the Fire Giant. The Pappies have recruited a 6th member in this game.
Yeah, the 6th member of the Fire Giant was doing a lot of damage, and that's what made Arkell fall. So a carry for a support, that definitely falls in favor of the Poppies. And I think that's exactly what they needed, because now the Belt Slap, they can't get this Fire Giant.
No, and if the Pappies really wanted to, they can start forcing objectives over on this left-hand side as well. They could force a Gold Fury if they really wanted to. And then also dance around the Fire Giant. Don't forget, they have 2 members of their team who can do good DPS objectives in Warchi and Marcus on the Ram and Nemesis respectively. So if this opportunity arises again, where Belt Slap are down a member or 2, they could split their focus on objectives and give, Belt Slap the decision to make. Do you want to defend one of them or the other? Because we're going to get one, regardless.
Yeah, and the one that I think the Poppies are really going to want is that Fire Giant. We're at 27 minutes in, so in a few minutes here, that Fire Giant will have the nice little purplish color to it as it becomes the enhanced, but Primal Fury has started. Trix Tank's going to try to drop the Dharmic Pillars, and that's going to be an ult burned, and they're just going to go ahead and peel it off. Johnny taking a lot of poke from that Strife from Chekio, and they might look to go back onto this Primal Fury, but Draco Marino is hovering around. Julio has now been pinged in the back by Creed. He's going to be stunned and mezzed, and that's going to be it for that, because he's just going to be able to get away because I'm Julio, but Warchi, we were talking about it. Warchi doesn't care about Scylla. She doesn't care about Johnny. They only care about those tanks, and Julio just saw that.
Yeah, I think that was just the Odysseus' bow proc that really chunked down Julio's health down a bit, because that was definitely not a crit. He doesn't have crits in his kit or in his build right now. Double tap is what's happened to their faces, though, as Draco Marino is trying to play on the aggressive front line. Good blink mess from Creed, forces his fight in the Pappy's favor, but out comes Johnny in the backside.
Well, Marcus falls to Arkle, as now that's going to be the revive onto the carry. Warchi's trying to get away from Julio. Julio's going to go ahead and get the beats, but Creed is all alone. The crush will happen. The Dharmic Pillars will help secure it. The passive will be there as Arkle picks up another one. Now the fight continues as a great wall. He's going to try to get onto Chekio. Chekio's looking a little bit weak. The crush will come out and hit Draco Marino, but Chekio picks up Trix Tank. So even though they lost 2, they do pick up the support. They get a double kill through the wall. Chekio is now officially on a rampage, and that will stop the aggression from Belt Slap. And I'm not sure if they'll be able to get the Fire Giant, but they will start this Pyromancer.
Pyromancer 100% going down for Belt Slap, but they had an opportunity to get Fire Giant there. Just Johnny and Trix Tank playing a bit too aggressively, looking for more kills. And this has been the problem with Belt Slap. Even though they haven't lost games, they've only lost 2 this entire year. The ones that they do lose and the ones where it looks like they're going to lose has always happened from their own overextension and own greed, for example. Just like that. The greed there stopped them from getting a Fire Giant, which could ultimately stop them from getting this game if the Pappies managed to break even.
Well, it looked like Warchi might have been a little bit greedy, but Julio and Zeros both walked over wards, so now he's going to be able to disengage from that Primal Fury, and that does seem to be a little bit of a target to get right now because that Enhanced Fire Giant has now been taken, so that's going to be a big swinging fight for either side, and that Primal Fury will help burn it just a little bit faster, but now these fights are going to start focusing specifically on this Fire Giant side, and I'm not sure who the target is right now. It's got to be Zeros at least, because Zeros hasn't died. And I think that's all you really have to focus is just get the damage out and get Zeros out of the fight.
Zeros hasn't died, neither has Warchi, so both of them probably have the targets on their backs, or pretty much on the top of their heads if you're looking at Johnny just crashing down onto Warchi. But so far, I would say Belt Slap in a really good position. Arkle forced to use that ultimate defensively thanks to the blink out from Creed, but Johnny's not having any of this. He wants to engage on this fight.
He's going to want to engage on Marcus and will not hit. The wall will come out to get the stun, but Creed's looking a little bit weak. He does not have that passive available. The apple comes out onto Trix Tank, and it will chunk him pretty well, but that's all the damage that will be done. All ultimates are down except for Zeros and Julio's ultimate, and on the other side, Draco Marino has that revive available. It does look like the Belt Slap wants to continue this aggression, but now that they have all the pressure in the world, they're going to start this Enhanced Fire Giant, and that's the correct call.
Draco Marino going to blink in, just looking to try and stop them, try and zone them away from this Fire Giant. Looks like it has been successful. Shell has been popped, but Draco Marino looks like he's going to follow suit. Marcus round the back without an ultimate. Draco Marino finally going to use that Scout's Blessing to save himself. Marcus finds Johnny in the jungle. Don't think he really wants to find him there. Force uses his beads, and he blinks away successfully. Pappies with a good defensive stop there, but it looks like it's just going to be a time delay more than anything else.
And that's what the Poppies need, is just delay the time. Delay that everything, makes sure so that your carries can pick back up and that no one can really get back into these fights, because if I'm Belt Slap, I don't want my carries to die, especially the big boy Zeros on that Scylla. But you don't want on Poppies, you don't want Czechia to die. You can't have Warchi die, and if those die, that could spell the end of the game. So this just delay everything. So keep the delay focus on this Fire Giant, and I think that's going to what they want. But are they going to look for a cheeky thing? But Julio is there to see if maybe he can start something, but he's going to get pinged out. Might see if a little bait could happen, but nope, nothing's going to really come from it. They're just going to clear out those wards in the Fire Giant pit.
Yeah, it's just a bit of a cleanup process here. The janitors have arrived from the Papis, and Belt Slap, the party animals that they are just going to leave litter all around the place once again, and then also clean up afterwards because they know that they don't want to give Vision over to the Papis. But so far, I think the Belt Slap team have got this in the bag. It just depends on if their engagements can be cleaned up a bit better, because their team fights have been solid. They just haven't been able to confirm kills off the back of their engagements. Once that happens, then it should be a lot better for them. But Creed forces Johnny to go up into the sky early. This is much better than forcing Arkle out early.
Yeah, getting Arkle is what you not want, but getting Johnny up in the air is definitely helpful. And now Zeros is the target. Zeros comes crashing down. Lots of damage done to him, but Warchi is going to fall to Johnny because he could not get away through the Trix Tank Home and the Dharmic Pillars. Now Creed is being focused out because he's the only one left available, but Julio is just waiting at the blue buff to see if anybody steps up, and Czechia will be the target that does, and Julio will pick up Czechia, Arkle will pick up Creed, and that's going to be the free enhanced Fire Giant for Belt Slap.
I love what Arkle does there. He looks to try and continue the aggression, but immediately cancels his ult because he sees that no one's around. He knows that Marcus is back into base, sees Draco Marino back at Fountain, and just elects for his team to get this enhanced Fire Giant for free. Draco Marino, he's going to fall down here. He's looking to try and kill Zeros, but it's not going to happen. Zeros is going to chase him down. Arkle's no, he's going to cancel the Elbow Monster for that Sikkim. Crush is going to miss because Draco Marino does teleport away, but this is just prolonging the inevitable here. Draco Marino is going to fall.
Yeah, and there he does, but he did buy a little bit of time on those respawn timers. Marcus just wasn't there, and the pings are coming out on that left-hand side Phoenix because there is a pretty good Archer wave over there. Julio's going to proxy farm over on the right-hand side as the rest of Belt Slap is going to push up the mid lane, and this is going to be pretty close for Phoenix's because now there's another wave coming in, but they could look to spell the end of the game here if they so choose, but people are starting to spawn back up. Czechio, the higher damage is there, but the pillars are going to drop. The Nemesis is going to come in and ult. Trix Tank is now the target. Trix Tank is one shot. The shell comes out. Trix Tank will stay alive, but Marcus will blink away from Johnny. Marcus is going to be able to beads to get out of that fight, but Trix Tank is still going to be trying his best to peel for Arkle over there on the right-hand side as Marcus inevitably will fall, as Arkle will fall as well. A one-for-one trade. The Poppies continue to keep this game alive.
And the Phoenix almost dies on the left-hand side. Johnny was the first member that had to back, so he's just going to go ahead and clear out that wave, push it up a bit, and make sure that Phoenix doesn't die to a regular wave of minions. Julio also had to back to base after that skirmish with Marcus in that left-hand side, but Old Fury's been left wide open. It's the Primal Fury, so would help with some jungle boss clearing. And without anybody from Belt Slap being able to contest this, the Papis are going to get this one for free.
Yeah, this will be a pretty close to free Primal Fury. There is Trix Tank around just to see if maybe he can get something, but it will be a little bit too late. As now, this gold lead, even though it says about 9,000 gold in favor of Belt Slap, XP is about the same. We're starting to get to the point now where you're looking for those 3k pots, you're looking for the Elixir of Speed to get that 6th item slot taken away, and I think this is where the turning point can be in these games, and we're at the 35-minute mark, Alpha, and this is still a toss-up because the Poppies have been just keeping into these fights, and they just want to make sure that they can continue to keep these fights so they can pull out the win.
The only thing that really needs to be done on the side of the Papis is sell their boots for their 6th item in the speed potion, but they don't want to let this happen. Arkle's crashing down, and Czechio almost falls. If it wasn't for the epic uppercut coming out from Creed, then he probably would have been a gone man, but well path there from Julio to get away from everybody to stop that apple spreading.
Well, all ultimates have been burned for the Poppies. Only one is available for Belt Slap as the left-hand side Tier 2 tower will fall. Now the target is going to be on this left-hand side, Phoenix. Marcus looking to be the target, but not going to connect anything. But Julio is getting a little bit of damage done to him. He's going to get plucked in. He's going to have to beat. He is almost dead, so he will have to completely disengage, and that will be the engagement entirely for Belt Slap.
Yeah, they're gonna have to back off from this one. The Fire Giant lasts for about another minute and another minute, I would say. And then it's just gone. The Pappies will then have the opportunity to redefend the Fire Giant and probably even look to take down some towers if they are successful themselves. They just have to hold on for one more siege attempt, I would say, on this left-hand side before they will say they've successfully defended their base from being broken in this game. But 37 minutes and 20 seconds in, it's looking like Beltslap are going to be knocking on the door once more. And with Johnny's ultimate backup available, it's going to be a repeat of that last engagement.
We're going to see if Johnny's going to be able to get anybody out in the ult as he is starting to wind it up. The Dharmic Pillars have been fallen. The Warchi seems to be the target. The roll will happen, and he will get out of the fight, and Johnny is going to be rooted. He's going to go up in the air. Snipes are going to come out. Johnny's the target. Johnny's looking a little bit weak, but Trix Tank will try to own, but it will not matter for Autos. Will take it out. Creed picks him up. Now, body blocking is Draco Marino to keep Creed alive. Trix Tank is taking a lot of damage. Julio is going to get thrown and blinked himself onto Warchi, but Warchi will get revived by Draco Marino's ultimate. Now Julio is stuck in the back as Warchi picks up Julio. This is the siege defense that we want to see from Poppies, and that is a fantastic siege for them.
That's the Nemesis ultimate we wanted to see as huge Nemesis fans for the past 38 minutes. I mean, Marcus finally realizes the potential of that ultimate to just blow Julio up. I mean, Julio tried to wind up his Lawbringer, didn't get off the ground before he got completely 100-0'd by the rest of the Pappies. Huge play, and with the Fire Giant just about to spawn as well, this is a good play for them. They can definitely get the Pyromancer. Fire Giant Meteor still not coming down from the sky just yet, but this allows them to set up the defense, allows them to set up the wards, and could set up some ambushes here on the rotations from Beltslap.
Well, Johnny is coming up in 9 seconds, and Julio's coming up in around 20 seconds. Marcus is pinging out. That Zeros is there, but the Dharmic Pillars have dropped. The Fire Giant has dropped from the sky as well as Arkel has made his rotation, but he just gets chunked by a strife from Chekio, and I don't think Poppies can really do anything about this Fire Giant. It does look like they're going to start it and try to bait it because Trix Tank is around, but the Dharmic Pillars are down, so there's no real secure and tick damage coming out from Beltslap, and they will look to go ahead and just disengage.
And Beltslap do have to be wary in the fact that the last Gold Fury was a Primal Fury that Pappies did secure themselves. So that's extra 7% damage onto these jungle bosses and jungle camps. So it is going to be the Pappies are going to be able to do this very quickly should they be left alone to their own devices. And that's exactly what's happened to the Pyromancer. I mean, no one's really here to contest from Beltslap, and down it goes.
And no one contested from Beltslap, and I think that's the safer call. You're still up in the gold. Everybody's at level 20 at this point, so experience doesn't matter. But the gold is kind of where it's going to be because, as we talked about, the 3K pots, the elixirs of speeds, those are starting to come online, and the upgraded relics as well. Draco Marino just going to go ahead and pop that Magi's Blessing off of Trix Tank as Arkill seems to be the focus because he's a little bit weak, but a huge wall will get the Marcus at little health because of the great crush from Scylla. Zero's just doing some damage as Trix Tank will now throw up the Dharmic Pillars. Johnny's going up. Arkill's going to make sure that he can slow everybody down with his ultimate. Arkill is the focus, but it will not matter if Johnny lands that because Chekio is weak, but he does have the Scarab's Blessing onto him, so Johnny's going to rechange his focus onto this fight. Zeros does miss the ultimate, but Warchi is now the target onto Julio. He's trying to auto-attack, but it won't matter. He'll pick up carry for carry due to the Odibo proc.
This is both strong, and he's also sold his boots for the Kaival, so reducing the attack speed whilst gaining more power himself. Warchi's build is designed to literally kill everyone. If you're a tank, I'm going to shred you with the kin size. If you're a hunter trying to box me, I'm going to reduce your attack speed, and I'm going to make sure that I'm getting more and more powerful whilst we're continuing this fight. But Chekio it was good target switching for Beltslap. Initially it was Marcus, then it went on to Chekio for the longest time. We managed to get a bit of help from Drake Marino on the Scarab's Blessing, and then it went straight over to Warchi when he got isolated from the rest of the team. Second Primal Fury goes the way of the Pappies, so that's 14% extra damage on these jungle objectives. This Fire Giant is going to get melted quite quickly, I'd say, if they were left alone.
And Alpha, I have to ask you a question because if I'm just reading the script and I go, oh yeah, Beltslap, they're going to win the game. They're going to win every game throughout this tournament and make it pretty easy. And they lose one game yesterday. And it's very possible, and the Poppies are keeping them in this game right now. If you were looking at the script and said Poppies at 41 and a half minutes in the game are keeping up with Beltslap, would you believe what you were reading?
I would believe it 100%. Having worked with some of these guys before, they are true professionals. They 100% take everything seriously. They want to improve. They want to be the best players possible. They want to be the best team possible. And I would say they're not far off their goal of being the best team unit out there. I mean, even if you have a look at the SPL team, so Papis do compare in terms of their coordination, they do compare it in terms of their game plans. It's just individual mistakes that are still holding them back, it's individual positioning errors that are still holding them back, I would say. And maybe just a couple of drafting changes. The Nemesis this game has worked out at times, has worked out not so great in others, and maybe just a bit of a switch to a more, consistent jungler would have paid dividends to them.
Well, up in the air will go Trix Tank and Johnny. Johnny will land, but Johnny won't do too much as Chekio wipes out Arkill. Snipes are going to come out to see if he can land on Johnny. Creed taking some damage from a crush from Scylla, as now the focus seems to be on Julio, as he's going to get blinked and abducted. The Lawbringer over the top will connect, but just get him out of the fight, and that's huge. Arkill is down. Julio has to back. They still have some tanks available, but Zeros is still around. No I'm a Monster available, but Crush can still do some crazy damage.
Yeah, they don't want to deal with the fact that Scylla has the best secure in this game right now. Just out of the 10 characters available, 10 characters being played right now, Scylla has the best secure by far and away with that Crush, and with I'm a Monster it becomes even more impossible to deal with. So if Scylla was not available, if it was Scylla that was dead rather than the Chernobog, then you would have seen Papis maybe 100% go for that Fire Giant right there and then. But instead, they want to back off, they want to try and bait this fight. So they go back to base, they heal up, and now they're looking to try and pull the Fire Giant. Johnny has his Amulet of Dawn back up, so this is not going to be a clean Fire Giant here for the Papis. It has to be taken alongside the fight.
Well, looks like Johnny's just waiting for the perfect opportunity to strike as Marcus will fall, and here is the time to strike. He's going to try to land on Chekio, but will not hit, but the wall will connect as Beads and Aegis were popped by Chekio. The Dharmic Pillars come out to slow and do some damage. Julio gets hit with the apple just to get him off of Chekio, but a crush over the wall will get everybody from the Poppies to back away. And that's exactly what you want to do if you're Belt Slap, but unfortunately, they're not going to be able to get the Enhanced Fire Giant either.
No, Arkill's only just gone back up to the fight. I mean, he didn't have access to his Living Nightmare. He used that to engage in a previous fight and then fell in a 1v1 to Chekio, might I point out. The Mage beats a Hunter in a 1v1 at this stage of the game because of the build. It's absolutely ridiculous. Now, if you look at the side of the damage numbers, it's no longer Discordia passive on Discordia. Warchi has it, so he is swinging even harder right now. Enhanced Fire Giant been started up here by Zeros and Arkill. Trickstack giving them that bit of a power turn with that change of fate. But so far the positioning from Papis is a bit more spread out than it would like to be. Belts up and they recognize this, can look for an engagement on some of these stragglers.
Well, Strix Tank took a lot of damage from that Fire Giant. He's at a 3/4 health. Pyromancer is going to be started by Arkill, just to see if maybe they can get someone out of position. Pyromancer will go ahead and fall to Belt Slap, just to give him a little bit more gold and a little bit of movement speed out of the fountain, as Johnny's going to go back up in the air. He's going to land, but look at the apple. It is landed onto Julio again. The Dharmic Pillars come out and a revive. Warchi stays alive. Warchi is going to do some damage on a Trix Tank. Trix Tank looking weak, but even weaker. Arkill gets up Chekio. Marcus picks up Trix Tank. Johnny now is the target as he's going to go up in the air. Draco Marino will pick him up. The snipes onto Arkill. The Aegis comes out. Arkill's weak. The Blink. The Nemesis getting into the fight to clean that up as well. So Zeros and Julio are the only ones left alive in replace of the mid laner. And now, with those two Primal Furies taken for the Poppies, they could look to get this Primal Fury, but instead they're going to back, disengage, reset, and see what they can get afterwards.
They can probably still get this Fire Giant. It's just Julio and Zeros will be up. They will be full health. They could defend us if they want. But after seeing Julio on that left-hand side, he does not have teleport. He instead elected to get Beads and Blink as his relics. This is 100% the Fire Giant going the way of the Pappies. Scylla's their only hope at stealing with this crush over the wall. But I don't think she wants to go in there 1 versus 4 against Marcus on this Nemesis, who is now full build, full power, has reached his final form, and Icreed on this Kumbhakana, who is a CC machine.
Yeah, that is a CC machine from Creed, and that seems to be what's keeping everybody alive, and even more keeping everybody alive. Draco Marino. Oh. I have to mention him because he has been absolutely amazing on these Capri revives, keeping Warchi alive, who's been doing so much damage and has the top damage in the game.
I mean, the Pappies missed a slight trick there. They knew that nobody's around thanks to their ward vision. They could have held onto the Fire Giant for about 5 more seconds before killing it, and then Chekio would have had the Fire Giant as well. It's not the end of the world. It's probably still good that they got it when they did. Only Fury is going to go down as well to help them with the push that's going to happen in a minute's time. I imagine this left-hand Phoenix is going to be where they want to go, as, you know, it's the furthest one away from the Fire Giant. It's the best one to get to try and re-siege the Fire Giant. especially if it's still down, because then the enemy team has to make a decision. Do they defend that left-hand side exposed Phoenix, or do they defend the Fire Giant? They have to send someone somewhere.
Yeah, and the Oni waves are now spawning. Nemesis will push with these Oni waves in the mid lane, just getting a little bit of split along with Creed, it seems like. But Creed just going to keep pushing up, making sure that the pressure is there as the rest of the squad will push this left-hand side Phoenix. Warchi is the man of the minute right now because his damage output has been absolutely ridiculous. Look at this, 46,000 player damage in favor for Warchi, and it's just the carry swinging at this point as that mid-tier 2 tower will eventually start to fall.
Yeah, and it's just every single member of Belt Slap is ahead of their counterpart in terms of damage. Well, yeah, it is that way around. So the Poppies haven't put in the damage that they needed to, but they're still only 3 kills down. They're actually ahead in terms of momentum in this game. So just goes to show it's not all about the poke war. It's not all about, you know, getting the biggest damage off and having those flashy plays. It's about teamwork and coordination. And Zeros realizes that in the worst way possible as he receives his first death of the game 48 minutes in.
Well, Johnny went up into the air, and now Warchi is going to be able to get revived. Chekio is still around. Rom is now free casting in the back, as you said. Warchi is looking a little bit weak, and he's going to get out of this just with nuggets of health. But even more nuggets of health, Julio is the target. As Creed is diving onto our kill, Trig's tank is looking weak. The passive comes out. Warchi gets on a killing spree. So now, only a few members left for the side of Belt Slap. Arkill, Johnny, and Julio. But this left Phoenix will fall.
It's going to be a game.
As now, Johnny... they're looking for it. They're not going to go for this mid Phoenix. Arkill is up, looking for maybe a root and a couple of autos. Johnny taking some damage, so he has to disengage. And this could be the game, as you said. They're looking at it, and no one's going to be able to respawn, but it looks like they're just going to kind of heal up a little bit before they look for this push.
I think they do need to heal up because the amount of damage that is still available on the side of Belt Slap is too great. Minis are pushing into this right-hand side Phoenix thanks to the fact that it's an Oni wave pushed up. Oh, and Arkill's been caught before he can get into the wall. This is going to be one dead Shadowbug. He lands, he dies instantly. That is 100% going to be the game. Julio's going to get back to the fountain just in time. Right side Phoenix falls. All 3 Phoenixes down. Titan down to its lowest potential defensive state. I mean, Chekio's going to fall down from Johnny, but what a performance from the Pappies here. They have Belt Slap their second loss in this split, and they're looking like they could go into the finals here. They're on match point.
We were talking about it earlier, and I know the desk was that, you know, the Poppies, they played well. They played really well against Cold Llamas, and Cold Llamas just didn't show up. It seemed like that in the first set of the day yesterday, that Belt Slap weren't up to their normal standards against an SOC team, being the only team to take a loss from Belt Slap, and they were able to get that victory. And now the Poppies are right up there with smiley faces, and it's just incredible to see that Belt Slap, there's a chink in the armor, folks, and we could be crowning a new champion, or at least pushing someone else to the finals besides Belt Slap.
Well, but the fact is that Pappies have been consistently improving. At the end of the last split, they finished 4th in that... They finished in this purgatory. They didn't finish in the top 3 to get them into the championships, but they also didn't finish in the bottom 2 to get them in the relegations. And I think that time off, that extended time, just allowed them to rethink their ideas, rethink their plans. And it showed. They went on an 8-game winning spree, going 2-0, 2-0, 2-0, 2-0. Came up against Belt Slap. They did get slapped 2-0 by them. But now they're showing that that may have just been a fluke in that 2, and they are here to play.
Well, folks, we are in a weekend of upsets. Let's go ahead and throw it over to the desk. Dulcin, take it away.
Yeah, one more time, Belt Slap drop an unconventional game here, and it's the Poppies who look great. And a really long one. We're pushing 50 minutes in this one. Wormy with me to break down game number 1 here of this set. Now, it looks in the first few minutes here, Wormy, like Belt Slap are going to run away with it. They get the first few kills. The Thor is absolutely swinging. There's no way the Poppies come back into it, but the disengage time and time again, just too strong. The Poppies stay alive and end up taking the game.
I think that was their biggest strength, Dave. I think that, honestly, I have never seen a team retreat with such style and grace like the Poppies have. And it all is really off the back of Draco Marino having such great revives with the Scarab's Blessing. He was saving them for the exact right point that he needed them to. And honestly, a really top-end player like these guys are, know not to kill a target that has the Scarab's Blessing on him, but just the fact that it was happening as that damage was coming was really insane.
Right, it was time and time again. You see Belt Slap open things up with an early kill, immediately retreating are the Poppies, Scarab's Blessing, but it was kind of those kills then on the disengage that kept fighting Belt Slap over and over and over again. A lot of it in this guy's pocket. Chekio, big game, I think, on the Discordia this time around. A lot of apples connecting for a lot of big damage, especially when you saw what Zeros was doing for Belt Slap. I mean, massive damage from that Scylla. The fact that Chekio time and time again was able to turn around what looked like a losing fight, massive for the Poppies here in this game.
Absolutely, and it really just goes to show you that Scylla does a ton of damage, but Chekio was right there, right behind him. They were basically neck and neck with this damage throughout the entire game, and that's with the Discordia passive on your side, but also Warchi really brought the damage here. 53,000 in this game, and honestly, the game was long, but that's insane for a Hunter, especially one that's not going crit.
And look at where we're standing here, 37 minutes into the game. It's full-on Phoenix defense mode for the Poppies. And again, it's an opening kill, an opening, low health advantage for Belt Slap, and then it gets turned around, whether it's, Chekio on the retreat or a ROM ultimate that snipes down, picks off some of those kills. It's the kind of retreat and then turnaround, I think, that keeps the Poppies in the game here. Now you have to wonder if you're Belt Slap. I mean, we're kind of writing off this one Smiley Face loss as, all right, maybe Smiley Face just came to play, Belt Slap knocking off a little bit of that rust, but now it's happened again. Belt Slap have officially lost a game. They're one loss away from moving down to the lower brackets. Where do you think that mentality stands now? The Poppies obviously have to be feeling good. Belt Slap back to the drawing board.
Yeah, like you said, Belt Slap have to really decide here if they're going to be committing up against a counter measure against this really nice retreat strategy and full-on defense that the Poppies have brought out. So they can either go ham and say, okay, we're going to pick all of the diving characters, bring out that Thor once again, and then just commit to it with maybe like a Guan Yu or even a very aggressive support so that, like I said, they could commit to that end. Or they could go back on the other end and play something more sustainy to kind of match that retreat fashion, but do it better.
Right, I think in a weird way, I mean, Zeros dies once in that game, but it was, one big pivotal death that kind of really crumbles the base there. They get one pick on the Scylla, and that's kind of all she wrote there, and the Poppies are able to roll it on through. So some safety around the mid lane, maybe continued presence here for Belt Slap as we see what picks and bans for game number 2 have in store. Of course, again, Poppies one game in tow here. You win this one, you move on to the finals, and you have that one game advantage in a best of 5. Belt Slap still in that first pick priority spot. Remember, it was supports traded out first overall. It was the Ganesh and the Khepri on either side. A bit of a quiet game for the Ganesh there, Lermy, with the revives from the Khepri shining through.
Absolutely, and that's exactly why it's getting taken away first here. But if I'm the Poppies, I'm banning same old, same old. Take out Persephone, Sobek, and Morrigan. You can see there on the graphic, those are the top 3 things banned against them every single time, and that's because Zeros is really, really strong on those characters, and Sobek is just plain annoying. We've been there and done that in terms of talking about that, but Belt Slap have the right idea. Get rid of all these crazy defensive supports that can really enable the rest of his team to do well.
That's exactly what Poppies succeeded with in game number 1, and Belt Slap are going to try to mitigate some of that here for game number 2. Another Sobek ban, 100% against Belt Slap, and pretty high in the rest of the SCC as well to boot. You wonder now where Belt Slap's mentality is. The Poppies are going to obviously have these 2 big swing picks, and it was double support picked up. Still some supports on the table, though, with the Heimdall being banned out, but we have seen unconventional Hunters, I should say, and maybe not unconventional. There's just so many, maybe at the moment, that are viable. I think Arco looked great on that Chernobog, but Heimdall still maybe at a spot. Just too much damage to really contest with.
Yeah, like you said, Hunters are kind of at a very even spot here, so that's maybe not the focus that I would be looking towards here. Honestly, if I'm Belt Slap, I'm going back to the Thor and committing to it, but actually it looks like they're going back on what I said earlier, and instead of going hyper aggro, they're going hyper defensive and playing with this Aphrodite.
And that opens up so much, I think, when you look at the Aphrodite. I mean, obviously it's heal, it's stun, and then it's immunity in that ultimate, but what you choose to pair with that can really change up how your team composition looks. A lot to burn through. The question earlier today was, where do you get that anti-heal applied? I like the Poppies going back to the ROM here. I think Warchi had a great game on the ROM in game number 1, so another good strong pick here for the Poppies. The Ganesh, though, taken away They already got their long lane locked in. Do you like those two paired together?
I think they do make a good duo lane. They kind of complement each other, and having some relatively decent early game clear. Neither of them are really going to be losing the lane, and of course there are better options, but in terms of the meta right now, Ganesh really fills that role of the really only other defensive support left other than maybe Geb, but picking a Geb could honestly be a mistake here because, I mean, we've seen before that Geb can make it through if you let the early game slide a little bit, but you know, it's a little more risky than picking up the Ganesh because he just has that nice early game clear with that power buff that recently actually got buffed, so now it works a little bit better for this Ramen lane.
And we've seen what happens to a Geb early when against, well, granted that's a Hercules and an Uller, but into the late game, the Geb can turn things around. So maybe something to keep your eyes on here for Beltslap. It's the same pairing that we saw earlier with the Aphrodite. Kali right there with it. Kumbhakarna now locked in for the Poppies. Didn't quite hit its mark, though, and I think that's maybe an outlier, that this Aphrodite with the Kali losing earlier in the day. We actually really liked those two paired together, and I think despite a loss, maybe it's still something you have some confidence in here for game number 2.
I think that this Kali pick was a big mistake, honestly. With Kumbhakarna on the table, that's honestly one of her biggest counters in the game. You send her up into the air with the Destruction Ultimate live, and she comes down and it's done. So she either dies while she's coming down, or she dies immediately afterward. And not only that, but the Mighty Yawn as well is going to have that attack speed debuff. So it's kind of just not good looks for this Kali so far, going up two very, very tanky targets that can really lock her down and keep her stop just anything that she can bring out.
Yeah, it's such a great point. The Poppies have locked themselves in some great peel. I mean, I sort of mentioned maybe Aphrodite and Kali is too much to deal with, but not when you've got, you know, a Ganesh and a Kumbhakarna on your side as well, and Ram, if necessary, can pop up into that ultimate. Second wave of bans, though, almost complete. The Poppies are going to get a little bit more support-centric, take that Fafnir in the Bacchus away, and mid lane is the identity here for Beltslap with the Giannis and the Scylla taken away. So gonna have to look elsewhere if you're Chekio here for this game. Still a lot on the table that can work. Discordia still hovering around there. Worked wonders in game number 1. Maybe the Nuwa, though, is going to make its way through, and the Poppies seem to like it.
I think it's a decent pick. I think definitely Discordia would have been better here because it has such great combos around the Ganesh and Kumbha, but that's not to say Nuwa can't work either. We've seen this character do tons and tons of damage just piling on the fire shards over and over. And not only that, it's also really good in the Kali because she has very good self-peel, goes up into the sky during the destruction, comes down, and as she is, that shard is coming down straight onto the Kali, who's now timed out of the destruction. So basically, almost every single member of the Poppies right now has some way to deal with this Kali.
And then this is like, you know, we're on the stream slot. We're trying to figure out these fun team compositions that all work together. Right now, it's the self-peel ultimates for the Poppies is the thread that they're going with. Ram takes to the skies. Nuwa does as well. So you're wondering if the Kali's going to be able to burn through those health bars before they're able to peel themselves away. Final 2 picks here for Beltslap, the Terra and the Kokulin. Locked in. We've obviously discussed where the Kali might fall short, but that's largely in part due to what the Poppies have drafted. Do you like what Beltslap have for their 5, that being said?
I think it is a very decent comp if you're looking at it in a vacuum, but when you're looking at it straight up against the Poppies, I am getting kind of concerned. Kokulin can work in certain situations, but again, there's just so much great lockdown that can deal with his rage form because, again, if he's up against this Kumbha, he goes berserk and then up in the sky he goes. Just send him up there while he's there, and that wastes so much time that he has all those extra abilities. But of course, these guys are playing on almost the highest level of action that we have, so perhaps even that CC immunity coming out from the ultimate could help him out, and just immuning it, or even just buying beads, period, could help to mitigate some of the CC coming out from the Poppy. So we'll have to see how these guys play. But overall, both these drafts do work.
I think they both can. Can the Poppies do the unthinkable? They've already taken a game off of Beltslap, but can they take the whole set? Fuzzy Wuzzy, what do you think?
Dawson, I got to go against Chat. I know Chat said that Beltslap was going to take this one, but after watching the Poppies play 50 minutes of solid, as Lermy put it, a glorious retreat, it was really difficult to see that. Fuzzy Wuzzy still with me is going to be Alpha, and Alpha, I mean, we're back to seeing this again, and Johnny is going to be on the Kali, and that's something pretty scary because Johnny's Kali is nothing to scoff at.
No, he looks very comfortable on gods like the Kali, the Bakasura. He does look comfortable on the Thor, but the Ao Kuang, the Kali, and the Bakasura are his 3 bread and butter picks, the ones where he will just absolutely massacre games with. And he's also got an Aphrodite alongside him to make sure he's even more unkillable. If I'm the Pappies, my first items are Brawler's Beatstick, Divine Ruin. I was thinking maybe upgrade a Shell and upgrade a Curse Dunk right off the bat. Just all this anti-heal in place to stop the Kali, Aphrodite, and the Terror from doing their work.
And if I'm the Poppies, I'm looking at this comp that Belt Slap have drafted and said, I've seen this draft before. We saw it yesterday against Cold Llamas, and we've beaten it before. So let's keep on keeping on. As now the focus, it gets a little more damage onto Zeros and a little bit of damage onto Johnny as well, but nothing really going to happen. But they do have pressure in almost every lane except that solo lane, and that's something different that we'd expect from the Poppies.
I'd say this is something which the Pappies should be expecting in this game, because their clear's quite strong, and if you look at Zero has his beats forced already. This is what a good Noir can do, just uses that root passive basic attack to her advantage, forces out an early defensive relic, and meanwhile in the duo lane, Rom generally does get pressure, especially when the opposite team has a Terror as support. Up until level 3, Terror will not have that clear available to her.
Well, now the Poppies, they continue to have all this pressure in the left side of the jungle, and that seems to be their MO. Keep the pressure on the left side and then start team fighting more efficiently when it comes to it, especially when Warchi's able to get around these team fights. So, if I'm the Poppies, you're 1-0. You don't want to have the jitters of, if we win this game, we can keep going on and we'll beat the undefeated team of Belt Slap, but are there a little bit of jitters from the Poppies?
It's difficult to say, considering I was only on the coaching side of things rather than the actual playing side of things in a similar situation, but there's always going to be this something in the back of your mind niggling at you saying, we can do this, we can still do this, this is our game to win, and then that tiny bit of doubt can creep in. The good players will just silence that doubt immediately. They will still make sure that it's basically just like any other game. You do your job well, you will get rewarded for it, and it's only down to individual mistakes at that point. If you are firing on all cylinders as a team, you have to iron out those individual mistakes, and I really do trust the Pappies to do so.
Yeah, Poppies are one of the best, if not the best, SEC team when it comes to actual team fights. Even Lermy and the Desk pointed out that they were able to retreat gracefully to make sure that they can continue on to these fights and continue to stay alive and delay the game as long as possible until the chess match went into their favor. So even though they lost all the pawns and they lost all the rooks, they kept pushing it and they were able to take the king at the end, getting the first game. And it's going to be interesting to see if maybe they can keep going, as Marcus is going to make a little rotation from this left-hand side to see if maybe he can get Trix Tank out of position, but no, he's just going to go ahead and elect to get that Alpha Heartbeat.
I think if Trickster could use his kit there to dash through a Monolith, then we would have seen an engagement coming out from Marcus, but Nemesis, not level 5, only just practiced level 5 after that Alpha Harpy. Hadn't backed for items yet. I don't think it's a good idea for Nemesis to be looking for a gank. Marcus just needs to farm, and farm some more. And it's interesting to see that he's opted for a different start here. Last game he rushed into that Golden Blade looking for a more farm-centric, focus. Whilst this game looks like he might be going straight into a Roller Speed Stick just to deny Zero some healing.
And you want to deny Zero's healing. Aphrodite has been one of those goddesses that is just very annoying when it comes to the healing. And not only do they have the healing coming out from the Aphrodite, they have the healing coming out from Terra as well. So two goddesses that can heal pretty great and keep everybody alive in your team. And especially if you keep Terra or the Aphrodite attached to the Kali, whenever she goes into that destruction, it's going to be very difficult for Poppies to just kill anybody.
Yeah, and I think the Pappies' game plan here is still similar to what it was last game, which is if we can weather out this early storm, we will destroy in the late game, and that's exactly what happened. Marcus looking aggressive over here onto Julio, although once he's in that enraged form, I don't think they really want to fight him. Johnny is on the rotation as well, Draco Marino helping out Marcus on this potential invade for this blue buff, which could be the first scuffle of the game, but Trix Tank's presence should mean this is a moot point.
The Dharmic Pillar and Terra's Blessing has been used. Now they're trying to get away. Nemesis trying to run away, and the New Wall ultimate was expended as well. Blink's going to come out. Julio is the target. Julio will pick up Marcus, and now Creed is the target, and Creed's the target for Kali. That's going to be a few autos, and the revive will happen. Johnny is able to pick up one, so that is a 2-0 in favor of Belt Slap. And if I'm Poppies, Kali's starting to look really scary, and Johnny piloting Kali is even more scary.
And they get punished for invading onto the blue buff, because the blue buff did go the way of Belt Slap as well, just to point out. So they didn't even get what they wanted to come out with. Trixtank picks up one. Julio doesn't really care about picking it up because he's a Cucullin, so doesn't really need the blue buff outside of just a tiny bit extra healing. And then once more, like you said, 2 kills, both of which were Johnny's target. First one, an assist. Second one, a kill. And that's just going to give him even more gold to play around with and help accelerate this build upwards.
2-0. The gold lead still is going to be in favor of Belt Slap, obviously, for that first gold and a couple of kills following after that. So that first blood will be in that favor. And you really just... You're happy that Kali got a kill because Kali starts to get online. Everybody kind of argues around that level 12, level 13 mark when she can start just absolutely swinging. And she does like to go into the attack speed boots. And something interesting as well is she's also not going into the golden blade start that we've seen some Kalis go.
No, I think Kali can get away with not going for a golden blade because of the fact her lash is such a good clear tool. And she really just wants to get her, auto-attack based build online as soon as possible. Doesn't want to get her auto-attacks to clear, wants to get the auto-attacks to fight. And you see, that's really paid dividends to him as he's 2 levels up on Marcus at this point, invading onto that back RP. And Julio has got all the pressure in the world over here, yet again against iCreed on this Kumbhakana. And this could be the weak point that Belt Slap want to expose. It did provide dividends in that last game. They got some advantage over there, and they allowed Julio on the tier to rotate early. And maybe it's going to be the exact same game plan here. Get the Cucullin ahead, allow him to rotate with his Blink, Spirit of Mortal Pain engagements on this Gold Fury.
Yeah, but even last game, even though Julio was able to get and rotate a little bit faster, it seems like that Creed was just able to keep peeling and keep everybody alive long enough for the Poppies to take the kill. So there might have to be a little bit of drawing up plans when it comes to it. And Chekio just going to make sure that he can get that new wall that he's piloting up to a very high level so that he can't die and he just does massive amounts of damage.
And that most likely will be a Divine Ruin coming out for him from that Enchanted Spear. So just a bit of extra, anti-heal to the tune of 40%, some pen, some power. It's a really good, strong item that I highly suggest everybody picking up. But Zeros is going to be very difficult to catch with this build, going into that Doom Orb, just to allow himself some extra movement speed alongside the Kiss movement speed. And Watch has to be very careful. Looking like it might have been a dive there from Johnny and Arkil, but that combat roll just gets him away.
And Arkle burned his ultimate to try to see if maybe the slow could help him out and get Warchi just slow enough to where that wonderful gank from Johnny was going to be able to hit out, but didn't work out as Chekio's going to have to waste his beats. He doesn't have the ult to get away. Johnny's going to go ahead and dash in. Terra's Blessing is going to be used as well. The Dharmic Pillars will make sure that Donnie disengage. But look at that. Marcus is in the back. He is ulted. He's trying to get something out of Trixtank, but the damage from the birds are going to have to make him disengage completely. And Johnny is still on Draco Marino, who that is his target. And Draco Marino will have to back, and that's just trades really in the favor of Belt Slap.
Yeah, and here we go. It's going to be tier 1 tower mid. Potentially could fall here. But I don't think Creed and Chekio want this to happen. Creed making his rotation away from the solo lane, mind you, as Julio did back off to base. Doesn't have that teleport available to him. Again, it's going to go into the Blink for his first relic and something else. Could potentially be beads, although it doesn't have to worry about as much CC this time. I would say could get away with Sprint for the rest of his team, just allow him to escape the Nemesis, escape the Nuwar a bit easier. And he also could allow us to escape the Dharmic Pillars.
Yeah, the Dharmic Pillar placement there was great and kept Johnny off, and I think that's the only reason Johnny didn't get the kill, is that wonderful placement. But also, if you take a look at the level difference is really going to start showing itself, it seems like, in that jungle and that support. 1 level down for the support and 2 levels down for the jungle, and that's just honestly Johnny having a kill and assist, and Marcus just having death.
I mean, it's also the fact that Johnny's been able to invade on some buffs, has been able to be a part of those kills, like you mentioned, been a part of those invades. Got some solo farm to himself, whilst Marcus has had to split the bare bones of this jungle with the rest of his team, and nobody likes to split the bones. They want to split the meat. They want to split the rewards, not the scraps. Well,
and we can't say anything too bad about the Poppies because there was at one point they were down 13, 14K, and they still managed to pull out the W in that first game. And Draco Marino now is trying to get away from the death that it's going to assume, and the death will still occur. Johnny will pick him up. That is 2 kills for Johnny, and that's really big if I'm a Kali, because we're getting close to that level 11, level 12 mark.
Yeah, you want to get that second relic online, where you want to get that blink so you don't have to sacrifice your leap to engage onto a target, to engage onto your mark. You want to save that to catch up to them, especially if it's someone like Warchi who can roll away. Warchi just a bit too late on that ultimate of his. And Trick's not going to eat half his health bar, just a bit of damage from those snipes. He doesn't really care though. He's just here to pick up some more farm, pick up some more stacks on his Gauntlet of Thebes, and just be on his merry way.
And right now, it seems like that this Terra has been kind of all over the place. 3 assists for them, and you could say the same thing for Arkill's Chernobog, but Arkill just kind of goes up, gets a little bit of vision, gets a little bit of slow from his ultimate, and then just comes right back down because not needed, or hey, I'll just go over there and try to see if I can help out with some damage, but nothing too much for it. But Warchi is keeping up levels with him, and that's going to be impressive for Warchi, because if he keeps up these levels, I think Warchi is going to be really good on this ROM, and we saw him play it extremely well last time.
This could be a big thing for the Pappies as well, to have somebody who's, in parity, can rotate quite well and can still have good pressure, good safety in these fights. Don't say that Chekio doesn't, but Chekio's been put under an immense amount of pressure already. The tower is already half health, and it hasn't really been helped out by the fact that Marcus is 3 levels down, just because the invades have been non-stop here from Belt Slap. They've just hounded out the weakness in this Pappies roster, which has been the lack of control that they have in this mid-jungle combination. The CC is very susceptible. It's very set up and time-consuming to get to the point where they are CC'd. Works out well in the early game when they don't have boots to juke around and avoid said CC. But whilst we're at this point in the game where they have extra movement speed, like on the Doom Orb with Aphrodite and that link up with the Kiss, it's very difficult for Pappies to get a foothold in the CC battle.
And that's what the Poppies need, is that CC, or at least some sort of setup for this squad, because Nuwa can do some crazy amounts of damage, and as the Des pointed out, she does have their own self-peel, and in fact, everybody on this squad has their own sort of self-peel to be able to get them out of the Kali ultimate, but still, she does some damage, especially when she's 2 levels up from your counterpart, and she's looking to the point now where it's going to start controlling the jungle even more so, because now she can get that second relic.
Yeah, and it is going to be that Blink Haste Katana online as well, so you thought Kali was in a good state before. It's now in the point where she's leveled up. She's gone to Super Saiyan form at this point, and she will eventually ascend again when it gets onto the kin size, gets onto the Executioner. And still, it's been a bit of a quiet game here from Johnny. You wouldn't say that for most jungles when they're 2-0-1 in 13 minutes, but we're used to Johnny having 5 kills at this point.
Yeah, Johnny at this point in the game usually at 5, 6, sometimes you can even say 7 kills, and even though he might die a few times, he'll still continue that aggression and just keep that pedal to the metal attitude that he has. But it seems like Belt Slap have taken a step back. They're wanting to make sure that everything kind of comes to them, and they're playing the game that they played last time, a little bit slower paced, making sure that everybody's around for these fights. And the Poppies, they kind of want that. If they can delay as much as possible, they might be able to do exactly what they did last time. The goal difference now is still about 3.5k in favor of Belt Slap, but you really think that Poppies are still going to be able to pull something out of a hat.
I don't think they'll go the entire game without, without winning a single team fight. There will be team fights, there will be times where they do come out on top and do take something from the map. It's just about how much momentum they can build up off the side of it, and how far behind they are at the time when they do take said victories. If they're about 2k behind and get a huge swing in momentum from it, the Pappies are back in business and they'll be on top, even if they don't get that gold swing back into their lead. If they're 10k down, they just get one fight where they trade out evenly, and it's considered a win for them, then it's still Belt Slap all the way.
And Belt Slap have been the absolute favorites to take over, but they've now dropped 2 games this tournament, and it can't be going unsaid because Smiley Face, even though they were able to upset, Poppies were able to upset one as well. Ultimate coming out from Nuwa just to get some vision to see if maybe they were on that Pyromancer, and they were, and possibly spread the Divine Ruin as well. Because now the Pyromancer is still going to go take and drop. McCreed and Marcus are around, as well as Draco Marino, to see if something can happen. Draco Marino might be the one that's caught out of position, but the Ohm will silence him to get him away, and that will just go ahead and fall, and they will go right back to the Pyromancer.
Yeah, we see the fact that they're just consistently pulling it, not really doing it. They want to take this fight first. They want to be able to take, some kills to begin with. But Pyromancer looks like it's going to go the way of Belt Slap. hi-rez looks like he might be able to get a kill at Aphrodite here. No, Zeros is going to get peeled for. Oh, I'm sorry. Belly Bump is a bit too strong there. And Papis finally on the board. Johnny's going to be the target here. Out comes the destruction. And out into the passive goes hi-rez. Can they kill him before he revives? Yes, they can. Julio with that kill. Johnny, 1 health remaining. Draco Marino could be able to give it to him. No, Chekio's the one that picks up that one. And they stopped Terra's dash, so Trickstack unable to get that break. They only will get the second dash to get away. This could be another kill here, but aside of the Pappies, it is.
And Julio is now the target. Chekio has those clay minions and that shard available. He's going to root them. He's going to hit. The transform does come out, but Draco Marino will dash him to keep him in place and ohm him to make sure that he doesn't chase after Chekio. A huge win for the Poppies, but now Julio, recognizing that Marcus was over on the right-hand side, looked like he might get a little bit aggressive, but instead Marcus is able to back away. And Arkil, now that he sees that Ward Chi is backing, he might be able to solo this Oni Fury, and that's going to be an Oni Fury for Belt Slap because no one recognizes it.
Oh, I don't know if he's going to be able to solo it by himself. He's to get quite fortunate with these crits. Only 1 stack on that rage. It looks like he is actually going to be able to take it. Impressive stuff here from Arkil, recognizing that he could tank the damage. And all that good work that the Pappies had on that last fight, the lead that they managed to dig into, they've suddenly just been taken right back and put in their face.
Yeah, and that's what Belt Slap are wanting, is just... It doesn't matter if they got 3 kills over on the right-hand side. Arkil is now getting bigger, and that 1 stack from Rage was literally him ulting at the beginning of that fight, coming right back down, and then just making sure that he gets over and clears some waves, get that, and then he's able to pick up that Oni Fury. So, big win for the for Belt Slap, but it was more of an even trade, I feel like, even though the Oni minions have now spawned, and they're right around that Tier 2 range, and the Tier 1 tower falls on the Poppy side.
So far, it's looking good for Belt Slap, but it was looking good for them last game. They were sieging onto Phoenixes at about the 25-35 minute mark, and they still fell in the 50 minutes in that game. So they want to try and make sure that they are on... They're watching a clock themselves to try and win this game before it gets to that same stage. Johnny forced into this... No, he doesn't even get the destruction off. The ohm from Draco Marino was just too strong. And it's something that we haven't really touched upon, is the fact that Draco Marino is on his signature Ganesh. He is the one in EU to make this Ganesh a popular pick. He is the one that really showed the power of this Ganesh pick from the support role. And that's one of the reasons that Belt Slap first picked it last game, was to take it away from Draco Marino.
Yeah, this is, as you said, his signature pick. This is the man. Draco Marino, even yesterday, had some crazy ohms. Blink is going to come in, the Mez as well. The Bernardic Pillars will fall. Arkil is the target. He has to pop Aegis. Now Trix Tank seems to be alone. He's going to get rooted, but Aphrodite keeping him alive with the ultimate just to make sure that Undying Love keeps him alive. Ward Chi is going to go ahead and pop the beats and the Aegis. The mid lane tower has fallen. Nuwa starting to make that rotation over to the left-hand side, but Trix Tank is dashing in, and it does not matter. Marcus is on a killing spree with his Nemesis. Arkil has come back with his ultimate. Creed looking a little bit weak and does not have that passive available, so now the rest of Belt Slap, or Poppies, are going to have to gracefully retreat as they've been doing this entire set.
Yeah, Pappies are ramping up yet again. The late game team comp just doesn't affect the fact that they're behind in the early game, because they're not behind by enough. Belt Slap play lights out when they're ahead. Belt Slap play lights out when they're on the front foot on the aggression, but yeah, I don't know. Are they giving a bit too much respect to the Pappies? Were they playing a bit too passively with the composition that they had? Because, yes, it scales well into the late game as well, but you do not want to go into a late game fight against the Pappies when your guys are even, because the Pappies win that 9 times out of 10, and it showed last game.
Yeah, and it looks like that Arkil is now seeing that death and destruction can come to him as Creed will pick him up. The Dharmic Pillars fall again. Julio is now the target for everybody. He is slowed out of existence. He is looking about to go into that rage form. The ultimate just to peel himself. The Ohm coming out. The root does not matter if he pops Thorns because Ward Chi will pick him up. Terra is now coming in, but Johnny's going to get that destruction come up. But look at that. Ward Chi's going up into the air to keep himself alive as now the snipes will come raining down and Ward Chi's getting a double kill. And that was a new wall ultimate as well. A huge win for the Poppies, and this is the point where I'm asking, can a David beat Goliath?
I don't think it's a David versus Goliath situation. I think it's a Goliath versus Goliath situation. It's just that the names just aren't as recognizable for the Pappies, but they've been playing almost the exact same way as the Belt Slap team. It's a super strong roster that's only really just getting to the point where they can prove what they can do together. And the Fire Giant is going to be the call here for the Pappies. They were down 4 kills to 0 8 kills without return near enough, and Beltslap are on the back foot once again in this set. First set loss
Beltslap are on the
coming
back
up, who
foot.
knows?
Beltslap is on the back foot as Arkel's going to go ahead and come in. He's trying to get Marcus as Marcus will inevitably fall. Now Draco Marino is trying to peel for himself. He's going to dash away, but the Fire Giant's still there. Trix Tank is trying to see if maybe he can do something, but the Poppies go ahead and secure the Fire Giant. And Mez just to make sure everybody sticks back in a root.
Okay.
So only 4 people get it, and Marcus losing it, but that's still a win for the Poppies, even though they traded, because now look at the gold difference. It's almost negligible.
Yeah, and they only lose Marcus for it. Marcus, he's fine dying, as the Nemesis, he's still able to impact the team fights without that Fire Giant. You know, we talk about it's not fun to play a god from behind. Oh, this god's really bad from behind. This god's really strong from ahead. There are very few gods whose kits lend themselves to be good while still being behind, and Nemesis is one of them. Because you don't really need the items in place to, you know, have somebody else's protections be shredded. You don't need the items in place to slow somebody down and allow your team to catch up to them. You don't need those items and those levels. You just get them because of your abilities. So the fact that Marcus is the one that, you know, is the unfortunate one to die, the fact that he is the one that is behind so far, isn't a sore point for the Papis to the point where he would be, you know, screaming at the rest of his team because he was somebody like a Thanatos.
Well, a blink came out from Creed and Arkel's beads have been dropped. Johnny can't do too much as Terra's Blessing comes out, but now that's some crazy damage coming out, the destruction coming out. Zeros will pick up Draco Marino as Warchi's up in the air trying to get a snipe, but Chekio will pick up Johnny immediately afterwards, but Arkel is also weak and he can't be in these fights, so Marcus is trying to run away from Johnny, but now everybody's turning on the Trix Tank because Trix Tank is now going to be in the back. Marcus will go ahead and inevitably fall. Trix Tank is now getting healed up by Zeros, so a 2-for-1 trade in favor of the Beltslap. And Beltslap
Arkel still has
go ahead and go away, and that's... Oh, yes, he does. And now, Trix Tank is getting Mez. Arkill's coming in with his ultimate. Warchi having to pop the Aegis. Doesn't have beads available as Arkill would pick him up. And so now that's a 3-for-1 trade. That's a beads and Aegis from Chekio. Chekio now is completely just trying to see if he can stay alive. Creed trying to get some peel for him. Trix Tank doesn't care because he's just going to run at him because he's got an Aphrodite attached to him as the rest of Poppies will now disengage.
And don't forget, that's Papis with the Fire Giant buff around 4 out of 5 members of their team. They fall down. 2 members dead. Draco Marino just respawned, so Chekio and Creed, the only 2 members still up with Fire Giant. Looks like Beltslap aren't going to be able to get any objectives off of it right away. They could be looking for the Gold Fury as a positional advantage, but Papis, they've been knocked back down to earth.
Everything is still relatively even. Gold Fury has been started up by Beltslap, and the rest of the Poppies have recognized that it is starting to burn a little bit quickly. Chekio is trying to see if he can get something, as Nemesis will go ahead and ult in the back onto Julio. That will be the Aphrodite ultimate as well, the Dharmic Pillars, just to get some peel as Julio is now running into the back. But look at this, Johnny's gonna blink, he's gonna get a 3-man stun, he's gonna run at it, that's gonna be 1 for Johnny, that will almost guaranteed 2 for Johnny as the passive comes up, but Julio will go ahead and take it away from him, so the health reset won't happen. But that's huge if I'm Beltslap, because now I've got a really big positional advantage, even though Poppy still want to see if maybe they can get away this Gold Fury.
I don't think they'll be able to take this. If anything, it's just going to be Warchi trying to snipe it. He's not going to bother using his ultimate. He needs to use that for peel himself away from the Kali if he does happen to be the mark, and Kali's looking to try and get the kill onto him for the health reset. And that's something which the Papis is going to hold on to something quite well. The fact that, apart from Marcus, you're not really going to be too worried if you're the Kali mark, because you have the tools available in yourselves to disengage and to delay the Kali's destruction timer of 5 seconds, of 6 seconds, to be able to then turn around and kill her. That's the big aim from this Pappy squad, is to elongate these fights just long enough so that Johnny isn't an instant win factor.
And that's going to be the hope, and they were able to do it in Game 1 just to extend the fights and get everybody away, but now it seems like they're playing a little bit more on the back foot, as no one's at level 20 except for the carries, and one solo laner, Julio, on that Beltslap team is going to be up to that level 20, so the XP is going to start slowly ticking away, but really you want Zeros to be up to that level, because right now he's just healing tremendously, keeping Johnny alive, keeping Trix Take alive, and it almost seems very difficult for the Poppies to answer with any anti-heal.
Yeah, they don't have themselves a cursed Ankh upgrade, and I think that may be the sticking point here, is the fact that they don't have the extra damage capabilities coming out when somebody does end up getting healed. That it is one of the best counters, if not, it is the best counter to Terror Ultimate, because the second Terror blinks and an ult, you pop that cursed Ankh, and instead of it being a 5% damage increase onto you, it's a damage increase onto them. It literally just swings the tide. It turns Terror ult into something that gives off more damage to people who are affected by it because of the fact it heals over time and you can't control it once you pop that ultimate. So the Pappies, I think their relic choice here could have done with something slightly different. Maybe that just comes back to the fact that Creed was forced to get teleport because he's playing this Kumbhakana.
Let's see if they can keep up this aggression. Belt slap. Trying to see if maybe they can get something out of it, but Poppies are around this Fire Giant to see if they can stop that as well. Marcus is on the left-hand side. He's just trying to farm, trying to get something. He is level 18 with Johnny being level 20. It's almost difficult for him to do anything, but Draco Marina now seems to be the target, but no, that will be the end of that monolith because Trix Tank might have looked at dash to see, but smartly decided that he was going to go ahead and not dash in as this Pyromancer will fall to Belt Slap.
I don't think the Pappies are interested in defending the Pyromancer. They're interested in defending the big old Fire Giant. Left-hand side wave looks like it might be winning it. Oh, interestingly enough for the Pappies, you can see the nice grouping of minions on your mini-map, and they are starting to push down a bit further towards that tower. So that tower could fall down to just a regular minion wave, but the Fire Giant's dying to the rest of Belt Slap. Trixack doing his best to zone as the Pappies try and scramble to create some form of defense. Looks like the fight's being kicked off.
As Newall did go up in the ult, Dharmic Pillars fall, but it will not matter. Draco Marino is down. That Kali is ultimate, but Creed throws him right back up in the air, so Kali destruction is going to be completely irrelevant in this fight. Marcus is not going to blink in. The blink from Johnny to keep himself alive. Julio is going to go in, pop the thorns, just to peel off everything as much as possible, but what a great ultimate from Creed to get Kali out into the air, and then Johnny just responding with a fantastic blink to keep himself alive. Now Zeros is able to heal him up. Creed is trying to show his face, but blinking away to recognize, I don't know if I could deal with Johnny, who's level 20, who can absolutely destroy me. Fire Giant will be restarted for the third time in this little engagement, and Creed and Warchi are still around, trying to see if maybe they can get some vision to see if Warchi might be able to snipe it. He's going to go for it.
He doesn't have his ult up.
He doesn't have his ult available, so they're not going to be able to get it, but Belt Slap will go ahead and get it. They're looking to see if maybe Warchi was pushed out, but no, he's going to be able to get away, and now they might be pushing this right-hand side tower.
Yeah, this tier 2 tower is going to fall down very easily. I don't think Pappy's going to even bother defending this one. The call will most likely be defend under the Phoenixes. Phoenix defenses are a whole different ball game when you're looking at team fights and positions and, you know, how best to engage. So that's where the Pappies should feel the most confidence and should feel the most at home, I would say. The Phoenix is just a bit too difficult for Belt Slap to siege without minions being pushed in, I would say, or without, you know, an enhanced Fire Giant buff around their waist.
Well, folks, we have been here before. Almost the 30-minute mark. Belt Slap is almost 10k up. They're around 8,000 gold up with only 2 kills separating it. And so that's going to be interesting to see because with the towers that are down, right lane is open. Left lane seems to be the more focused right now. And it seems like that's where it's going to be the grouping is to get this Primal Fury, go ahead and drop this, and then push up that left-hand lane so they can have more pressure if that Fire Giant wears off.
But it looks like it's going to be the Primal Fury, the next call here for Belt Slap as they gear up to engage on this left-hand side and start pushing and exposing the rest of the Phoenixes. Right-hand side's already been exposed right to that tier 2 tower they took earlier. Left-hand side tier 1's going to fall down to the tank squad and some minions. Minions probably doing most of the work. Left-hand side tier 2 is going to be the next call. And so far, so good for Belt Slap. They've recognized the issues that they had in the last game, and it looks like it's been corrected. But we said that before, and I don't want to cast this curse myself, so I'm not saying it's for certain.
I think in game 1 you even said, yeah, Belt Slap have this in the bag unless something happens. And then something happened. The Poppies were able to come back and win a big fight. And we've seen them Phoenix defense before. The Poppies have a fantastic Phoenix defense. They've done it in game 1 of this set. They've done it all day yesterday. It seems like that when they're on the back foot and their back's against the wall, that's when they really come out to play and swing. So now that tier 2 in the left will fall, and the Phoenix might be the call. It's recognizing that Nemesis, Marcus, is over on that right-hand side.
Nah, they just want to put some pressure over to keep people underneath the Phoenix. Just let Zeros and Johnny split push his mid lane tier 2, expose the third and final Phoenix. And once that's done, they can look for a 4-1 split or even a 3-2 split like they've got going on right now to put pressure onto 2 Phoenixes at once and have the Papis split up and choose which one they want to lose.
Well, the Mez will come out. Creed is taking a little bit of damage from Johnny. The birds will keep them healed, but Johnny's taking a little bit of health as well, so he might have to back off. You know, Fire Giant can give him a little bit of revive, and, you know, Afro's birds can give a little bit of health as well, but keeping that Brawler's Beat Stick applied, that's going to be the ultimate from Afro and Johnny. Johnny's going ahead and going in. Johnny's looking at the Creed. Julio has come in, but Johnny's looking weak. The ultimate will come up. Arkil will get one. Chekio will respond, getting Johnny. So now Zeros has to attach himself to Arkil, and that left-hand side Phoenix is still alive. So Johnny is fallen, and that's going to be Creed falling for Johnny, and I think they're going to try to defend this even more so because Arkill's ult has been used as well. The only two ultimates available are Julio's and Trick Tank's, as the Ohm was going to come out. Julio trying to see if he can find something, but just Warchi's doing so much damage, he can't really get in there.
No, I don't think this is possible for Belslap to be able to siege into a Phoenix right now. They need a Johnny to provide kill pressure and potential to take down another Phoenix elsewhere. With just Arkil as your main source of damage onto these objectives, it's very easy for Papis to identify which Phoenix you're going to be going for and which Phoenix you want to take down. Unless Trickside blinks in and blows up Chekio, this could be a good engagement here from Belslap.
Well, it almost turned into a good engagement, but Warchi has a double kill. He's going to continue on to Zeros. Zeros will throw out the kits. The beads coming out from Warchi. One more auto should be able to do it. But in the back, Julio is trying to take on 3-1, and he's trying to run away with the rest of his life. Draco Marino, the rollout to get to Warchi onto Zeros, but he won't be able to do anything, so now he has to rotate to the left to help out his team with Julio. Julio is slowed pretty well. Marcus is low, and he can turn, but Warchi has come around to say, "Hi, friends, I'm here to help you." Draco Marino trying to throw out some damage. Warchi has shown the Ohm's going to come out, but Johnny has come back from the grave. He's going on to Marcus to see if he can get that revive, but it does not matter because Johnny will pick up Warchi. Julio can go up in the air, and he will get fallen down. Chekio picking up Julio, and so now they have to be completely disengaged.
Well, that's a bit of miscommunication there from Belslap. Zeros has his ultimate available and elected not to switch to Julio to save his life. So I'm not so certain about that. That's something which a veteran player of Zeros' stature should be recognizing and taking care of.
And the kiss might have been on cooldown as well because he had just switched. Once I saw Johnny go in and just come blink in and ult, it seemed like that's when the kiss went on to Johnny, and then he was able to pick up Warchi. And I think that was all she wrote because Julio couldn't do too much except stand there and just say, well, this is the end of my life as Chekio picks up the kill. But again, Poppies, you can't count them out. The Fire Giant is about to spawn in 10 seconds, and they can still be in this game.
Yeah, builds are starting to be finalized for both teams. Just a couple of starter items to be sold on the side of the Pappies. One tier of an item to be finished on the side of Belslap before they're looking at selling boots as well. So it is come to the end stage of the game where gold doesn't matter, where experience doesn't matter. Just Draco Marino needs one more level, then it's completely even. So the Pappies, once again, despite the fact that they were down and almost looking out at one point, have crawled their way back in. They've stalled the game out for long enough to be at the point where they can be considered even.
Well, Trix Tank took a lot of damage from Marcus and the rest of the squad. Warchi's going to go up in the air and try to get some snipes on the Johnny, and he lands all three, so Johnny has taken some damage. So instead of going for this Enhanced Fire Giant, they now have to elect to get the Pyromancer, just try to see if they can heal up a little bit more. Now that they know that Warchi's ultimate is down, they won't be able to snipe this out of the sky, but it seems like a couple ultimates are still available. Creed's and Draco Marino. Draco Marino can get this as Creed's going to go ahead and mez Trix Tank. Trix Tank taking a lot of damage, so Julio has to go help him, but it doesn't matter as Warchi picks him up. So now the Dharmic Pillars have fallen. Arkilla is up in the air, and they're going to go ahead and disengage, but Poppies still have 5 available. Trix Tank is down, so Poppies might be able to get this Enhanced Fire Giant for themselves.
I think they're giving it up. No, it's only wrapped around. They want to try to defend this, but without the blink engage from Terra's and the Terra's Wrath, Terra's Blessing. Sorry, it's not going to be easy for them to get into this engagement. Creed has a bit more free reign now, especially with the fact that he has got the Midgardian Mail. He's not super worried about Johnny. In fact, sends Johnny up into the sky. It's a good engagement here onto the Kali, and with the anti-heal coming out, the Ohm's coming out as well. Not allowed to go to destruction. Now finally escapes and gets some breathing room. Manages to kill Marcus for it, and looks like it could be Creed falling next. I said he didn't have to worry about the Kali, but he has to worry about the rest of the team still.
And that's going to be 2 down for Poppies. He's going to blink in onto Warchi and almost obliterate him, but Julio will help finish the job. So now Draco Marino is going to be the target for this Kali, but Arkill will pick him up. That is the only person left is going to be Chekio to defend this Titan, and I don't think he can do it. Belt Slap will go ahead and take us to Game 3 here in just a few seconds.
So, in terms of the Papis draft, I don't think I minded too much outside of the Nemesis. I think the Nemesis, it worked out okay in Game 1. Game 2 had some impact, but it's quite minimal. It just needs to be changed. I think something a bit more traditional in the jungle would be not go amiss here for the Papis. Maybe the Kumbhakana solo, just to get something a bit more fresher as well, to try and stop them getting free invades onto the blue buff. But they can't fault their team play. They can't fault the fact that, that they had those games stalled out for that long a period of time. It's just individual mistakes time and time again.
Yeah, and it seems like that those individual mistakes have cost them, but last time they played in that first game, it was all belt slap, belt slap, belt slap, then all of a sudden Poppies kind of creeped in, and then it seemed like the Poppies were creeping in a little bit earlier than we expected, and then belt slap said, oh, but we have Johnny on the Kali, and he can kind of just run games.
Yeah, Kali plus Aphrodite equals I don't want to cast your games anymore. I believe that's what some of the casters have said as well, because it's just... It's so difficult to deal with, and it either goes one way or the other, and as a caster, you never know which way it's going to go until you watch the fight unfold in front of you. It's either that the Kali goes on a rampage and is unkillable, or Aphrodite and Kali missync their ultimates and the Kali just dies anyway.
Well, Belt Slap took Game 2, so now we're going to 1-1. Dolson, what did you guys see out of that? Because it seems like that Afro Kali is very difficult to deal with.
Yeah, despite what we thought, maybe not quite as much self-peel from the Poppies playing a big role there. The Kali Chainsaw came online, and the rest was sort of history there. Wormy still with me to talk about game number 2. There were some moments where the Poppies were still in this game. I would argue it followed a very similar trend to game 1, where Poppies slow things down, almost get back into it. But ultimately, the team fight surrounding Belt Slap was just too strong.
Yeah, that kind of countermeasure and more of a defensive style really worked out for Belt Slap there.
Right.
Instead of going that full aggro that we talked about before, they said, all right, you want to play this game? We'll play it better than you, and picked up 2 healers, and were able to counter them really well by doing that. So maybe that means now it's time for the Poppies to go on the other end and say, okay, you're going to do that. Now it's time for us to go full aggro and counter you on that. And theoretically, like you said, we thought that would work. This draft was really built to shut down the Kali, but instead of that, they just were not able to deal with the Afro or the Terra that kind of helped this Kali rise up.
Agreed. And I like that we're showing Julio a little bit here as well. I think we were able to highlight him in that in the pregame segment a little bit. Had a good game until it wasn't on the tier in game number 1. We were maybe a little bit concerned on how this Kilcullen would end up looking here in game number 2. Did it surprise you at all with maybe how well it ended up looking, despite what we figured might be some counters to him on the opposite side?
Yeah, I think despite what may have been a little bit of a counter on the other side, Julio really proved that he was a master of the Kilcullen and really keeping in mind that rage, because what separates a good Kilcullen player from a great one is managing that rage mechanic. And the fact that he was able to do that was really the biggest game changer here for Belt Slap. The fact that he was making such a huge impact. I mean, he had 15 kill participation, so he was in there basically the whole time.
Yeah, 15 out of nearly what seemed to be just about 15 kills that Belt Slap were able to grab right towards the top of those damage charts as well. I think this was also a pretty good game for Zeros, especially after what we saw in game 1, where he likes these kind of safe and then high burst damage mages. You look at the Scylla. Aphrodite, more of a role player in this case, keeping that Kali alive, doing great damage nonetheless. I mean, obviously the get back once the Kali jumps in, whatever it is. But I think Zeros, the Aphrodite, independent of that 1-2 punch with the Kali, I think looked good here and maybe makes a case for it to go right back to that ban column.
As it should, and 23,000 healing is nothing to scoff at, too, because that basically meant that Marcus's Nemesis did actually nothing that game. He had about 19,000 damage, and so, honestly, we were talking about this a little bit. We think, Alpha Jackal mentioned this, too. I think it's time for the Nemesis to go. We have to move on to something else here, and it has been a pocket pick for quite a while, but honestly, I think we need something with a little more consistent damage and that actually plays more to the style that the Poppies want to go to. Nemesis kind of slotted in there, and it's like, okay, I guess she works if you really want to make her, but if they had a jungler that will kind of play to their more defensive style, I'm here for it.
Yeah, but Nemesis can dash twice. I mean, that's pretty sweet, right? I mean, you can do some damage in a cone, and then I can use my one twice to be somewhere else from where I was just a second ago. It has worked. I mean, I'm harshing on Nemesis. It has worked. Not quite the same here in game number 2. The decider, game 3. Where will picks and bans take us? Well, let's find out. The one-game advantage and the free route to the grand finals here are on the line. The two big names we continually bring up, the Persephone, maybe not even worth mentioning, as she'll likely be banned out by Beltslap. But the Aphrodite, obviously Beltslap played her in the previous game. You wonder if that's something you let through up against the Poppies. But it is the Sobek first overall ban, continued presence there. If you're Beltslap here at this point, this is a super niche question. I don't even know really why it comes to mind. Is there a world where you either ban the Nemesis to try to force the Poppies onto something else, or are you okay fighting into that again, given what we just saw in game 2?
We've seen Nemesis 5 or 6 more times than I thought we'd ever see her this land.
Fair
and
enough.
So just the fact that she's out there at all is kind of surprising. So honestly, if Marcus wants to play Nemesis and I'm Beltslap, go ahead, play the Nemesis.
Sure.
We've shown that we can deal with it, and they have slightly adapted their strategies, have the Poppies. They've gotten rid of the Kali, so of course that's not even going to be in danger there. But on the other side, I'm surprised to see that Beltslap are going to take out Persephone, but of course this character is just insane. The fact that she's there at all just really speaks wonders to how much she can do in team fights. So, they're not even going to deal with that. They don't want Chekio, who has had a stellar performance so far, to be playing that one.
Yeah, I'm going to pass, and the Aphrodite banned out as well. So we wondered going into this set if Johnny would pull a little extra priority in the ban phase, and at least with the Kali, tends to be yes here for the Poppies. Have seen a plethora of other carry-type gods that Johnny has been able to play. So we'll have to see what the Poppies elect to take away from him in the second ban phase, or maybe he's able to grab himself a god throughout one of the first 3 here for Beltslap. Morgan banned out, interestingly enough. We figured that would be a largely zeros-focused ban, but maybe Morgan at this point is good enough that you don't want to let her get played by Chekio either.
She really can be, but Rom here is the 3rd time that Warchi's going to be playing this character, and he's been having some pretty hot hands. The damage has been coming through with this Rom, so if he's feeling good, he's hitting those autos, by all means, go back to it. A very safe first pick, but I'm surprised it wasn't something else like this Ganesh here. I would have thought they've been kind of fighting back and forth with who's going to play the Ganesh, and now it's back on over to Trixtank.
Yeah, it's been the tug of war for the top priority support god here in this second set of our SCC Phase 2 playoffs. Day number 2, Chernobog as well has been pretty high priority. Arkle has looked good on him, 1-for-1 so far here in this set. Chernobog and Nesh, we've already talked a little bit about that combination. Are you surprised at all that both of these teams have opted for the same exact Hunter lineup seemingly time and time again, or have both of them done well enough that you're more expecting to see no changes?
Like I said, if the hand's hot, just keep him on there, and this is kind of a tried and true thing for them. I mean, Arkle got a pentakill on this god way back at Worlds, so the fact that he has that experience there with this character and performing super well, I mean, for sure, let him stay on it. But the thing that surprises me here is Yamoja gets all the way through to 3rd pick. This has been a character that Beltslap have said no for Draco Marino several times, so the fact that he's now getting it is kind of surprising to me.
Yeah, a lot of individual lockdown yet again here for the Poppies, maybe limiting what Beltslap are comfortable moving towards. Camazot's likely for Johnny out of that jungle. A lot of what the Poppies were looking to do again in game number 2 was either self-peel or move themselves away from this Kali. Weren't able to do so. A little bit more immediate now with that Yamoja being locked in. A big Rivers Rebuke can separate out these team fights. I feel less dumb now for asking if there would be a Nemesis ban, because there is. So they are going to force something different out of the jungle here. And maybe that is somewhat surprising given what you were mentioning earlier. So I think I tend to agree that it'll be interesting to see where the Poppies look to go here. Cullen banned out from the solo lane as Beltslap are still looking, but lots of priority solo laners still available and on the board.
I think that, honestly, if you're Belt Slap, you're looking to ban out another jungler here. Could be seeing the Thor ban away, or instead it's going to be Discordia. So we're going to be taking that away from Chekio, and no surprise there. He had a great game 1 on that character, but over on the Poppy side of things, maybe they choose to ban away the tier. I mean, of course, this is Julio's character.
Right.
He still performed well in a game 1 despite losing it, so having that in his back pocket is always a nice thing, and it is going to be the tier, no shocker there. So Julio's going to have to go on to something different for this game number 3. And if I'm them, I might be actually looking at King Arthur.
Yeah, King Arthur absolutely would be a strong pick here. Lots of similarities, honestly, between the tier and the King Arthur, especially when Julio is piloting one or the other. Belt Slap have drafted themselves a lot of strength here in their first 4 picks. Lots that has worked for them, and even despite the loss earlier, looked good in some of those losing matchups. Now, the Guan Yu has been an interesting pick, only an 11% pick rate, but hasn't lost just yet, Army.
It is an interesting pick. It has a really great dive, so they're kind of going for all of these characters that really jump on you, and that includes the Chernobog too. He uses that ultimate to get even closer to an enemy, and in fact, he can only fly to enemies, so maybe that's what they're going for here. They said, alright, now they're banning us out of doing that very defensive sustain comp. Now we go for the full aggro. We send Guan Yu on the horse, Chernobog through the skies, and same with Camazotz, and try and just jump on either Warchi or Chekio here.
You know, we talked so much going into this set about how the Poppies have gotten a lot better, and a lot of their play style, kind of across the board, matchup specific, can be somewhat similar. I mean, you could cover up the names at the top of the screen, and it looks like Poppies have drafted something Belt Slap would want, and maybe even vice versa. Giannis locked in now for Belt Slap to round out their composition for the 3rd and final time here, Lermy. Is there one that you like a little bit better?
Both of them are rough, but the fact that the Poppies have been sticking to their style throughout these entire 3 games make me think that it's going to go their way.
Fair enough. The Poppies, they've done it now once over Belt Slap. Belt Slap have dropped 2 games so far here this week. And the Bakasura to round out that draft for the Poppies, I think, is going to be a lot of fun to watch. Do you think you have enough setup around that Bakasura to get him in a position to succeed?
Certainly, it helps out that you're going to be able to eliminate some of the dashes and jumps coming out from the squad of Belt Slap. Additionally, you can't go through Giannis portals when you're crippled out by the Bakasura spit, so having that in mind is really helpful too. So he'll be able to chase down this Giannis relatively well as long as he doesn't use through space and time to get out. But like I said, I'm with the Poppies all the way on this one. Here we go.
Well, the Belt Slap guys have shown they can bleed, but will they lose an entire set? We'll have to go down to game 3 to find out.
Lermy saying that the Poppies can do it. Chat has said that Belt Slap will do it. Which one of these juggernauts will actually take Game 3 and move on to get that game advantage in the finals? Fuzzy Wuzzy still here, and Alpha Jackal. This is really going to be close, and I'm kind of with Lermy here. I kind of like the draft coming out of the Poppies more than I like the one out of Belt Slap.
I think out of all 3 drafts that Papis have done so far today, this is the one I've liked the most by far. Yes, they still have Kumbhakana in the solo lane. I don't really like it. I was not a huge fan of it, but it's worked out for them quite well. But it's just a change in jungle. The mid lane is a lot more of an aggressive, reactive pick, I'd say. Warchi's still onto his favorite Rom, but they also have Draco Marino onto this Yemoja. Yemoja's been an absolutely dominant pick every single time she's been picked when there's not been a Sobek on the other team. Sobek against Yemoja has been like the counter pick. And so far, it's just been Yemoja's had that free reign without that bad matchup.
Yeah, and Warchi on this, the 3rd time now is going to have this ROM. Just seems to be that he can control some of these games. And, you know, I'm a little bit scared because Chekio has Scylla. And we saw what happened if you give Chekio Scylla just yesterday. It can be pretty scary when you give him, especially when the game is on the line. So it seems like that the Poppies have kind of said, let's play our best gods. Because Draco Marino has one of the best Yemojas out there. Creed, I kind of agree with you. The Kumba, not super great, but it does set up well with this Chekio build.
Yeah, and I think that's just all that they want, is they want to have as much peel as possible, as much teamfight disruption as possible, because they are the teamfight team. They are a team that almost emulated the great teamfight teams of past and present. Especially if you have a look at somebody like Sanguine, they're a team that isn't filled with the superstar players, but they play extremely well together, and that's exactly what the Pappies like to do. And Belt Slap, they need to contend with it yet again. For a 3rd game, one more game than I think they would have liked.
Yeah, and what's interesting here is that when we were talking in that first minute when we saw Warchi and Draco Marino over on the left-hand side, they were able to get Trixtanks' shell and Arkill's beads just in that first little engagement. Now, they will be back up here pretty quickly, but that's pretty interesting to see that, you know, Draco Marino and Warchi have so much pressure on this left-hand side that I think that this Bakasura is going to be able to help Creed out with the Guan Yu, especially. And Arkill has no mana. Draco Marino might want to see if he can get any engagement off, but just missing the bigger bubble, so not enough damage. But on the right-hand side, the little invade going for the blue buff as Marcus is able to pick it up. He's got to have the beads to stop the slow. Creed will mez, but it does not matter because Johnny jumped over it. Creed now is in a little bit of a position of weakness, but able to get away. But now, Warchi on the left-hand side is going to focus on the Trix tank. Draco Marino doesn't have enough Omi to do anything quite just yet, so they will just go ahead and invade the purple buff and walk away.
Yeah, free purple with invade. Blue buff still goes the way of the Papis thanks to the Bakasura minion. Yes, he's forced to use his beats early, but it's still a good look at the fact that they don't lose that farm. And Julio is low on mana as well. He invested a lot of mana in to try and invade onto that buff and to keep Creed underneath this tower and under a lot of pressure. And it's been working out so far for the Papis.
Yeah, and I think the Poppies, you know, we were kind of saying this is the better draft out of all three games that we've seen from the Poppies, and we making sure that everything is great for them and they're playing to their strength. There's still we're still early in this game and still only 200 gold, but I think that this is going to be really great because I think there's a chink in the armor, and I think Poppies have exposed it, and I think it's going to fall on Chekio and Draco Marino as the two to be able to do anything with it.
Exactly. I think that this is the time to try and beat Belt Slap. You know, they're not playing at their absolute sparkling best right now. We saw, you know, some pretty basic mistakes coming out for them so far this weekend, and you know, the boys on the Pappies, they only grow stronger and stronger and stronger the more time they spend playing together, the more time they actually spend playing on the day as well. And the Golden Blade is finished up here for Marcus. This is when Bakasura turns into the fastest farming god in the game. Just because its passive allows it to move around the map very quickly and keep up those basic attacks. Golden Blade just allows it to build that up quite quickly. Eat Minion allows it to just take one of the camps very quickly. And that speed buff consistently being refreshed on its passive, meaning moves around the map so fast.
Yeah, and Bakasura is going to be one to watch out for. Marcus is piloting it, but Bakasura in general has been kind of a priority pick, as Lermy has said, because of the Golden Blade being able to be picked up, as he's now a level ahead of Johnny, and Julio is getting knocked up into the air. He's going to go ahead and ult, but the ultimate will come out from Julio as well, but now Johnny has come back into this to see if maybe anything can happen, but that will just be it. So 2 ultimates burned for the Poppies. And that's going to be all she wrote, but Julio is looking a little weak, and that's kind of, I think, a win for Creed.
Yeah, this might be just a bit of respite for Creed. Despite the fact he's got the level advantage, he just hasn't had the greatest time in this lane. That's just because you are a Kumbhakana, you are a Guardian, and you just don't have the clear early on. He does have the advantage in the Warrior's Blessing stacks war, though. 5 stacks ahead. Draco Marino making his rotation over here just to allow the disengage to happen a bit more smoothly, allow Marcus to go back to farming up. And so far, the Pappies are keeping parity with Belt Slap. Neither team has developed a lead yet.
And no real lead, and I think that's going to be more in favor of Poppies because Scylla, but the Draco Marino is going to throw out the River's Rebuke. The through space and time will miss. Zeros is going up, but the I'm a Monster will connect on the Trix tank, but Trix tank will be able to get away. But now the Bat Out of Hell coming in, trying to get to the Draco Marino, and it will happen. Johnny will pick up first blood on the Draco Marino.
Up at the sky was Arkell, thanks just to slow the rest of the team down, and it's just going to create a bit more confusion there for the Pappies. It was a fight that they looked like they wanted to take, but Chekio misses his I'm a Monster onto Zeros. That would have been a big turning point, would have got them first blood rather than being the recipient's first blood. Up at the sky goes Warchi, wants to stop the invade happening on his purple. Hits twice onto Arkell and forces him away from the buff. Gives Marcus enough time to rotate to try and defend this.
Yeah, it was interesting because he missed the person he wanted to hit, but he was able to still hit the support in that engagement, and it still did a lot of damage, but not enough to do anything, and Johnny kind of just was able to clean it up, and that's exactly what you want to do if you're Camazotz, is just be able to clear it up, but Zeros was able to get away, but Marcus picks up Arkell, who was taking a little bit of time on that Gold Fury, just seeing if he can walk around, so that's a big win for Warchi on that left-hand side, because now he can farm up a little bit better, and possibly even stack this Devourer's Gauntlets a little bit quicker.
Yeah, it is a slight advantage now for Warchi, and this is probably the first advantage that he's gotten during the laning phase the entire set so far. Arkell famously one of the weaker hunters, I would say, out of the premier SPL level ADCs. One of the weaker hunters during the laning phase. Always sort of relied on these safer picks in the past when he's playing on Dignitas. He's certainly improved on that since and become a very stable, strong pick in the ADC position. But he still has these moments where he looks like the Arkil of old. He still has some moments where he does become susceptible and does die in situations where he doesn't really need to die. And Warchi should be able to take full advantage of that.
Well, Draco Marina was on the left-hand side to see if maybe they can get some more advantage onto Arkil. See if maybe they can get some more poke and possibly even another kill, but he does have those beads available, so it will be a little bit more difficult. Zeros is going to just make sure that he gets the vision onto those Gold Fury Oracles and see if anything can happen. And it seems like the game is starting to slow down a little bit. And does that more in favor of Poppy, or is that more in favor of Belt Slap? Because even though Poppies are only down, I'd say about 200 gold, it really seems like that Poppies have a little bit of momentum going into this game.
I think the fact that the game's a bit slower right now 100% benefits the Papis rather than Belt Slap. It's been difficult in the past 2 games to call who had the better late game composition, but I think in this draft, in this game, it's 100% going to the Papis, and Draco Marino is 100% dead in that situation through space and time, hits like a truck, and they're still looking for the aggressive positioning here at Johnny and Trix Tank. They could look to flank around the back here of Warchi, who has just used his roll and is running into death.
Yeah, Warchi's going to have to go up into the air to see if he can delay the inevitable. But Bakasura has come in. He's chomping down, but the bat out of hell, he's going to be able to roll away, so Johnny won't be able to get to him. A crush overwards will not hit, but the I'm a Monster doesn't matter because Warchi picks him up. Arkil seems to be the next one as a double kill happens for Chekio. That is a 2-for-1 Che, and Chekio on Scylla. Do I need to say any more?
No, I don't think you need to say any more. The other monster didn't hit, but the crush, the roots, the basic attack, all of it was hit spot on. It just allowed what I thought Warchi was going to live there thanks to the sustain from the Devourer Gauntlet. So I thought Arkil just didn't have enough power in him. Looked like one last basic attack was all he needed. Dies in a valiant effort just to get the trade off and put himself back into somewhat of a position where he can still stay in lane by himself. But it's still not a good position for him. He's still not got the Devourer's Gauntlets built. Warchi's over halfway done with his stacks. This is a lane of trouble here for Belt Slap. And if Papis recognize this, they can look to put even more pressure over here and maybe even do the Gold Fury.
Well, Julio's going to get knocked up in the air. Marcus is just waiting for him to come down. Dash from Julio. Julio does not have that ultimate available, so he might be an easy target, but Johnny has made the rotation to see if he can slow down the aggression from Marcus, and he does do that. Now that Johnny and Julio are going to be able to grab that blue buff for himself, and it's kind of weird to say that Creed is keeping up and even a level ahead of Julio as a Guan Yu Kumba.
Well, this is probably, out of the 3 gods he's facing, this is by far the best matchup that Creed could have on the Kumbhakana against the Warriors. I mean, against the Tyr doesn't care. He just sustains anyway. 1 second maximum on the Mesmerize and the Root. So it's just a lane he's not going to do well in. Last game, you know, sort of a similar situation. Wasn't going to be able to do too much in that lane. But this time, up against the Guan Yu, stop the Tele Assault with his Mez, forces Guan Yu to take his dash early on. Like you see, it's forced the Guan Yu to go into a very defensive option in those reinforced Greaves.
Yeah, the reinforced Greaves will help keep him alive a little bit longer, but seems like that Creed's starting to go ahead and get into that physical defense, maybe get some anti-heal along, maybe a contagion, but now Marcus is going to try to see if he can eat a minion, but the Ohm will say no, so now the Oracle and the vision on that Gold Fury is going to fall in favor of Belt Slap. And that's kind of what they want, is to keep that vision on the Gold Fury, because they don't want really any rotation coming out from the mid lane when it goes through that Gold Fury pit.
No, any rotation coming out from the mid lane at this point is going to be a bit of a disaster here for either team, really. You know, if Chekio is able to make a good rotation over onto Arkil and get another kill, that puts him even further behind. In fact, he's not got into Devourer's Gauntlets. He recognizes that it's probably a bit too late for him to start stacking that one up, just going for raw power with the Bloodforge. And also that Bloodforge shield should save him from the Bakasura, should that, you know, a potential situation arise. I actually do like this decision from Arkil. It's a smart buy.
A smart buy coming out, and I think that's exactly what he needs. You said it yourself. It's too late to start stacking, but it isn't too late to grab a whole lot of power. And Warchi does have a little bit of a gold lead on top of him, but not necessarily the level lead, as you know, Arkil is able to bring that back up. But look who's making the rotation on the left-hand side. That is Marcus, looking to see if maybe they can catch something off, but did walk over that warden, so that's going to be it. But he will go back to mid to see if anything will happen. Johnny's going to dash in onto the Scylla, but Scylla Sentinel is going to keep herself alive. And then Draco Marino obviously just going to be able to heal up.
Yeah, there's not too much reason to just go into a poke war against the emergent team comp. You want to look to just try and flat out win these fights. But the anti-heal's coming out slowly but surely here for Belt Slap. They've got the Brawler Speed Stick already for Johnny. It looks like it's going to be a Divine Ruin here for Zeros. Now he's got his 40% CDR already built up, thanks to that Kronos Pendant, Mage's Blessing, and cooldown Shoes of Focus. So it's a good spot here for Belt Slap to then look for some engagements.
On the left-hand side, there seems to be a really big rotation. Arkil, again, is pushed out as Johnny's taking a little bit of damage. Arkil has to go up into the air. Where will he come crashing down? Is just come right back down where he was. As Through Space and Time gets launched and will not connect with anybody. The Trix tank is going to go ahead and make a quick rotation over to the mid side. See if maybe they can get Checkio out of position, but that's going to be it. Just a Through Space and Time was used, and Arkil's ultimate was used.
Yeah, and Watcher playing the part of the aggressor here, rolls in, stops Arkill's back, and this is a good positional advantage here for the Papis to look for the first objective of the game, which could be this left-hand tier 1, could be a fight over this Gold Fury. It sounds hard to say, it sounds almost unbelievable, but 13.5 minutes into a game with the Papis and Belt Slap, Gold Fury hasn't been touched.
Gold Fury has not been touched, and that's unusual for both sides, but more so, I would say the Poppies, because they usually like to get these like cheeky little Gold Fury stills and make sure that they have the vision. But Belt Slap have played their game and made sure that the vision is constantly on their side. Whether that's grabbing the oracles or placing down a sentry ward to make sure that they have the vision, seems to be what they're wanting. But all Trixtank could do is just kind of watch as those oracles fall in favor of Poppies.
He may have been able to steal it with a turn of fate, but it would have been highly unlikely given that he's up against Rom. He's got his full Tavares Gauntlet stacked. He's going to go into an Executioner again. I wouldn't put it past Watcher to yet again go into a attack speed build with Kid Size, because he just seems to really favor that these days.
He is favoring that, and I kind of like that. And Checkio, recognizing that Johnny might be around there, tries to throw out the root, but it does not connect, and neither does the crush. So that's his potential wave clear. So I'll have to back up a little bit, and I don't think that's going to matter for Checkio, because that's all he has to do. But look on this left-hand side, Marcus is seeing that if Arkil would push up, Arkil, it looks like he might be going towards his Alpha Harpy. I don't think he recognized that Marcus was even there, so Arkil will go ahead and grab that Alpha Harpy. Yeah,
it just clears out a ward on the Gold Fury pit instead, and that just alerts Belt Slap to the fact that there is a Sentry Ward on the Gold Fury, and they're going to go ahead and clean that mistake up and put a Sentry Ward of their own onto that objective. I think Marcus is going to go return the favor right away, and yeah, the Vision Battle, it's passive, it happens, and 50 gold gets traded out yet again. Oh, once more, I think.
And the Vision Battle, yeah, and once more, because the Vision Battle is exactly what they want, because both teams need to keep their eye on this Gold Fury. I feel like that both of these teams are just very focused on who can get the gold, who can get the farm, and that's 4 Sentry Wards have been traded back and forth between these teams, and that just tells you why this Gold Fury pit is so important to see, because anybody can come over that wall and kill the carry, and once a carry is dead, or even a support or a jungler, that's a free Gold Fury for the other team.
Yeah, it looks like there's going to be an ambush set up here. Johnny looking for the engagement, just going to find Draco Marino with his Vampire Bats, and the shield, thanks to the heal from Yamoji, is going to be able to eat all of that damage up. Only ability to Transcendence now hasn't, and thanks to the Chain Transcendence received earlier in the season, doesn't get 10% CDR until it's fully stacked, so not as a powerful item as it once was, not as a core item as it once was, but still something you want to be building onto Camisots with is 130% scaling.
And with that Transcendence having to wait to stack, does that mean that Johnny's going to try to slow down the play a little bit and play more of the late game character that we've seen him excel at? Or is he just going to be in these fights regardless of what's going to happen?
He's just going to look to fight regardless, because if he gets into a fight, gets a kill, and gets an assist, he will get stacks from that as well. So I don't think he really cares about the fact that he needs to stack for the 10%. He just wants to fight.
Well, on the left-hand side, they're looking for these oracles yet again. There are 4 people here, but Warchi will go ahead and back, and Marcus will go ahead and grab the Alpha Harpy, and it looks like that they still want this vision around this Gold Fury still, because, again, this is the first major objective, and as you've seen, the game has tremendously slowed down ever since those first 6 kills, and that's just simply because both teams do not want to make any mistakes because they want that one-game advantage going into the final.
And Pappies are just slightly ahead in gold right now, and you would expect that these teams would face each other again tomorrow in the grand finals. I mean, yeah, Smiley Face looked impressive against Beltslap in day 1. They looked impressive again here in day 2, but the Pappies and Beltslap just seem to be on another level compared to the rest of the teams here in the European SEC finals. And whichever team drops down should overcome Smiley Face and should get it back into the grand finals. That one-game advantage between these two teams really will pay dividends to whoever manages to find it.
And who would say that, you know, if we look back at Split 1 and say, oh yeah, Beltslap can drop a game, drop 2 games, might even lose a set, and the Poppies are the one that's doing it. The Poppies were the ones that were in the middle to lower bracket, and they have no clue. Look, this is what we were talking about earlier with the vision. Now that they recognize that Trixtank is going to try to make a run over, the Dharma Pillars will fall, but it won't matter. The Poppies have taken the Gold Fury. The through space of time will connect as Zeros picks up Warchi. Archer is going to go up into the air. Now the target is going to be Draco Marino. He will pop a shell. He'll pop the Rigger versus Ryuk, but it will not matter. Bat Out of Hell is expended as well. That's a 2-for-1 trade, or 2-for-none trade. Gold Fury falls for the Poppies, and this was the mistake that the Beltslap was looking for. So now Julio is here, trying to see if maybe he can steal the speed buff from Bakasura, but it won't matter. So now the pressure looks to be on this mid tower.
And all that gold and all that experience they took for getting the gold free wiped out by a beautiful play from Zeros. I can't wait to see that in replay at the end of the game. But blinking for Creek gets the Mez, gets the ultimate off. They're looking for Trixtank. I don't think that's who they really wanted to get up into the sky. Trixtank can't get through because it's a cripple field for the Bakasura Regurgitate. Over the wall goes Marcus to save himself. Trixtank survives by the skin of his teeth. And a good engagement, a good disengage there from Beltslap means they take the Pyromancer and negate the Gold Fury taken just earlier by the Pappies.
And now that gold lead because of the Gold Fury, it's gone now because of that Pyromancer and the 2 kills that they were able to get. So Beltslap and Poppies still even. Actually, a little bit more gold in favor of Beltslap, but in my mind, this game is absolutely even. Doesn't matter what the scoreline says. I mean, just look at that spike and that immediate downfall because of that Pyromancer and those 2 kills. This is the game that we wanted to see, and this is the game 3 we needed out of these 2 teams.
Right, these two teams are playing so well against each other. The tiniest mistakes have been punished, and the tiny mistake in that last fight on the Gold Fury was literally Warchi not recognizing that a Yanasol was about to smack him in the back. Sometimes that's just the thing that happens. You know, and you know the Yanasol's going to come out to the Gold Fury. You know roughly where it's going to be sniping from, so it shouldn't take... It shouldn't take anybody to put 2 and 2 together and say, maybe I should keep an eye out for this thing which has just been called by the rest of my team and get out of the way of it. But to the same point, it probably still gets run down anyway. Beltslap still take what they do take. And the Pappies can count themselves fortunate that the mid-tier 1 is still standing.
Yeah, all towers are still standing for either team. And this is going to be interesting to see because now Chekio is starting to hit a little bit harder. He's got that Soul Reaver done, and he's got that Spear of Desolation, so a lot of magical power and a lot of pen coming out from the mid laner. As Creed has now made a rotation, the Ohm, try to get anything out of Creed that he can. Julio will just dash through that crush, heal up Trixtank, and that's going to be all they were. But now we're starting to group up as 5, and now this is when it's going to start getting interesting because either team can win these team fights.
You said it, like any team has the potential here, and looks like Arkill's having none of it. What we said that Arkill was behind before, but now he's found himself a level ahead of Warchi. That's just the fact that he is, you know, he's died the same amount of times as Warchi. Warchi's going to get aggressed on here by Arkill's Living Nightmare. But just the rest of the team has been brought up. They are looking to rotate to just help him out, but Warchi hasn't had that same impact that Arkill has had in this game so far, outside of that 1 kill.
Yeah, Warchi, but he's going to take his time. You know, Warchi is one of those guys that'll sit back, take his time, get to that level 20, and then start consistently doing the damage. Because as you mentioned, he loves this pen build. He's already got the Executioner. He's already got the Kin size. He'll probably look for the Titan's Bane and round it off with an Oboe. I mean, this is what he does. And this is something that he has needed to do in these sets, and he's been consistent for this team.
Yeah, so far, he has been a solid player. He hasn't, you know, lit the world on fire, but at the same point, he hasn't cost his team most games. And Arkill looks like he might fall here. They're stopping him getting through the portal, and down he goes. That was the through space and time there used by Zeros to try and get his Hunter out. The cripple field just meant that it was impossible for him. Johnny dies before he gets into the sky. His toes clipped as he flies away. And Chekio puts kill number 5 on the board for the Pappies and puts him in a good spot to take down this tower and get the first commanding lead of the game.
I guess Chekio likes to give manicures and pedicures because that did clip just the tip of the toe as the tier 2 tower on the left-hand side will fall. And now they're pinging this mid tower because Chekio had all the pressure. Chekio got so much, and now he's level 20, the exact same slash line for either mid laner. And I think there's going to be a little bit of gold lead. In fact, 3K almost in favor for the Poppies as Draco Marino now is going to be there. But no, they've elected to go to the Pyromancer. And Draco Marino's up there alone just trying to get some peel. The River's Rebuke will go ahead and throw off because they're trying to see if maybe they can have something happen as Warchi has made a rotation all the way from the left. But Julio. Here comes Julio on the mounted. He's going to dash in. Marcus is going to jump the Tal Assault. Bellslap has stolen the Fire Giant. Bellslap has stolen the Fire Giant with an incredible through space and time. And now the Poppies are on the retreat, and there's not much they can do because Warchi's up in the sky. Julio's waiting for him. Warchi falls to Julio. Chekio's trying to do as much damage as possible. Draco Marino, though, is going to get the Riptide out so that the rest of his team can get there, but a steal, a through space and time for Zeros just swings the favor back into Bellslap.
One mistake is all it's going to take. The biggest mistake so far we've seen this entire set was the Poppies being greedy and looking for the Fire Giant. They needed to look for the fight. They needed to go for the Pyromancer or a tier 1 tower in mid or something. But that was just one step way too far. Even if they do get the Fire Giant, they still lose 2 members. Papis will still lose their tower in mid. They'll still lose the towers in right. They will probably still end up losing, more than that here. As the Phoenix Siege is starting to happen. Draco Marino doing his best to try and stop it happening from over on the right-hand side. A monster comes out but misses completely. And Draco Marino buying as much time as he can for the rest of his team to get back up and running. And Zeros finally puts him down.
Well, Draco Marino is out of the fight. Warchi is back up, but 40 seconds until one of their tanks comes back, and right now Chekio hasn't hit too much as now Creed is going to go in, but Marcus has the ultimates available. The Dharmic Pillars have been dropped to try to get everybody out, and that is successful as Trick Tank is able to pull the rest of his squad out of that. They still have 4 members with Fire Giant. Creed is now the target because of that Ohm. He's getting a lot of damage done to him. And now Warchi is trying to just do as much damage as he possibly can to tanks because that is what his build is designed to do. This right Phoenix will fall. And now Warchi's going to go up into the air, look for the smite. 1, 2, and he hits our kill! And now he's going back onto Julio, but still, the right-hand Phoenix does fall. And that's it. They're going to be able to get out of this, I believe.
Yeah, only 3,000, 2,500 gold, in the lead are Bellslap after the entire push on that right-hand side of the mid lane tier 1 tower as well. But you can see that is a massive dip. The fact that they're only 2,500 doesn't speak volumes to the fact that they were 2,500 behind before. That's a 5,000 gold swing in their favor. Experience looking closer to 7,000, 8,000 experience. Looks like it's going to be the Primal Fury over here on the side for the Pappies, but they've had an objective stolen before. I don't think Johnny's going to have it in his lock point to steal this one. Ooh, I honestly thought the Vampire Bats were going to steal it there just for a second.
The Vampire Bats were close, and the through space and time just knocking some health out, and that was pretty incredible from Zeros, and he has been on an absolute rampage. 4-0-2, and not only that, he has been the leader in this momentum switch, specifically from that Fire Giant steal.
Yeah, so far it's just been... It looked like Bellslap and Papis was so even during one portion of the game. Then one good fight then Papis managed to steal away a Gold Fury from the noses from Bellslap. Bellslap retaliate, get themselves a bit of momentum. Papis then respond in kind with a fight that gives them a bit of momentum. And then all of a sudden the momentum slips back right into Bellslap's favor because of a steal that could have easily been prevented by not even going for the objective in the first place.
Yeah, now Pyromancer will be pretty easily taken by Johnny, because that will give him a little bit of movement speed and a little bit of gold, as now the left-hand side tower is the one that's in target. The River's Rebuke goes out just to zone out the damage, but Creed is blinking in, and he is ulted. He's going to get someone as Zeros is now going down. He's going through space and time just to get away. The rest of his squad will help as well, but that left tier 1 tower still stands. And, well, Arkle is going up to help out and see if he can get Marcus, but a blink comes out. TP coming in as well, so Creed will come over and help defend this mid-tier 2 tower. That is interesting that they expended so much just to defend these towers, but Arkle has to pop Aegis, not in time, as the Aegis is still around when the Crush gets blown up.
Oh, that was so close. Chekio missed up by a few milliseconds at best. And they force out through space and time early in this fight. Well, I don't think that matters because Zero's 40% CDR is going to mean this back up very, very soon. 5 minutes on this right-hand side are pouring in shortly to the base, and I think Marcus is going to stop that from happening. Thanks to that Golden Blade, it should make quick work of those fire creeps, and yeah, there they go. It does use Butcher Blades for it. It doesn't really matter, because it's a regular ability on a regular cooldown, so it'll be up for the next fight anyway.
Yeah, and I think this next fight is definitely going to be around this Fire Giant. It is spawning in about 28 seconds, and that's what both teams need, is to see who can get this swing on the Fire Giant. And with that right-hand side Phoenix down, they are able to somewhat defend it, because you really want the left Phoenix to be fallen, or at least some pressure in the left lane to fall if that Fire Giant is your objective. But instead, the right Phoenix is available. The Fire Minions are still pouring in, and now this Fire Giant will fall.
Fire Giant is spawning up right now. 2 minutes and 15 seconds, until it is an enhanced Fire Giant. Beltslap may look for some fights, look for some aggression over here, instead of trying to take this Fire Giant straight away, just to maybe delay until it becomes enhanced. But that's a double-edged sword, because if they fail in that fight and lose it, the Pappies then will be the team to get the enhanced Fire Giant.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see what they play here, because you don't want to delay too long, because if someone gets hit with some damage, like Chekio is here, because Tulio is on the horse, he's going to hit. The through space and time will hit. The beats and Aegis come out from Chekio. River's Rebuke comes up, and that will help zone out Chekio's damage. So now he's going to be able to get away. The Ohm coming out as well to stop it. Creed trying to do a little bit of peels, and the Poppy's right Phoenix is spawned, and Warchi picks up our kill. So now Marcus is running in with Creed. The slow coming out from Giannis, but Trix Tank now is going to be rolled out. He can't dash away. Trix Tank will fall to Warchi. That is a double kill. And now they can push down this right-hand side tower, because Marcus is trying to see if maybe he can get Johnny out of position, but the right tower is the call. They might look to continue to push this right-hand tier 2 tower as well.
Okay, how is it that I'm calling basically everything that's going on in this game? I say, oh, they could wait and see and look for a fight, but if the fight goes badly, then the Pappies will have the advantage to get this Fire Giant, or maybe something else. And it's exactly what happened. Have I got the script? Have I got Hindu's powers for once?
Well, you are a Brit, and I think all Brits have the script, right? Because at one point in the game, or in the set, you said, oh, it's the Beltslap had this one in their favor, and then, of course, the Poppies had it. So I think it's just a reset of itself. But Julio is going to try to come in. Zeros is here as well. He does have that through space and time. Beltslap has stolen it once. He's throwing it out again. He's going to not hit, but he will hit a lot of people, so the Fire Giant will have to be discontinued. But Johnny seems to be the target, because look at how weak he is. Blink coming out from that. Marcus is going to throw out the ult to stop the slow from Bats, the cripple field. He's going to eat. He's going to pick up Johnny, and the Fire Giant's still going to keep going. Look at this. Zero now is going to get pinged because he can't get through his portal. Now he can get through the portal as the Soul Gem is able to pop, but Draco Marino is tanking a lot of damage. The Fire will be able to do some damage to him. Warchi, I'm a monster to secure, won't secure. Poppy still managed to get it, so now it's the time to disengage. Now it's the time to run, but run the wrong way. Chekio does as Arkhill picks him up.
And I don't think that was an enhanced Fire Giant. I think they got it just before it ticked over. Look at the time on the clock. 30 minutes and 8 seconds, and they got it about a couple of seconds before it turned into an enhanced state. Unfortunate for them, unfortunate for Marcus and Chekio that they're the ones to fall for it. And the Beltslap boys are going to push up this mid lane. They're going to push down for the Phoenix, I would expect. But they have to still run into 3 members of the Fire Giant. They could just opt to back away and go for the Primal Fury instead.
Let's see what they do, but right now it seems they're going to push down this mid tower. Look at that.
Like
that was a portal over from Julio to get him into position. Creed is going to go in and ult. Rivers Rebuke's going to come out. Julio is now stuck in between a rock and a hard place. He can't quite get in there, but he will still stun too. Creed and Draco Marino. Through space and time will hit Draco Marino, but the unstable vortex will not. So they are defending this with ease, it seems like. Warchi doing as much damage as he can. The Phoenix has not taken a lot of poke, so now they will have to disengage, as you called it, Alpha.
Yeah, I think once that Rivers Rebuke came out, it just needed to be a full-on disengage. Right, guys, we can't get in anymore. We got this big T-fight all about out from them. We also have to go stop this army and let the left-hand lane from taking our Phoenix. Johnny, can you go quickly take care of that? But now, with the fact that they didn't opt to take that Primal Fury, means it's wide open for the Pappies to be able to take it if they look to do so. But it looks like Creed is sniffing out that the Pyromancer was on the mind of Arkhill instead, and it's going to go stop him from taking that objective as well. So, just a tier 2 tower from getting 2 kills off that Fire Giant take from the Pappies. But Beltslap not taking as full advantage of it as they could have done, and now it's up to the Pappies to punish him for it.
Well, they are going to reciprocate the Tier 1 tower, and I don't know if they'll be able to get the Tier 2, but they still do have 3 members with that Fire Giant around their belt. And as you mentioned, it's not enhanced, because it was just too early. So Creed Trying to see if maybe he can start something. Ping's coming out, but no damage has been done to the tower. Warchi is taking it just a little bit as the Dharmic Pillars fall. Draco Marino is taking a little bit of damage, but the health is there. But look at this. Marcus is in the back trying to do something through space and time. Will hit Chekio as Warchi is now trying to get to Chekio and the rest of his team. Johnny is now there, but Julio is going to come in with a big ride as Johnny gets the bat out of hell. Julio trying to run away, and so is Johnny, but it won't matter because Warchi will pick him up, who still has the Fire Giant. Look at this. Marcus is shredding Trix Tank as he gets the kill. A double kill for Warchi. It looks like this could be the game alpha. The cheek in the armor has been exposed. Argyle will fall. The tier 2 will fall eventually. The mid Phoenix will fall here pretty soon. Fire Giant is still in possession. The Poppies have beaten the #1 seed and the undefeated Belt Slap for the first time this season.
Oh, with the counter checks before they hatch. Julio is still available. He will have his cavalry charge up in just a second. One lone Guan Yu. Can he do it? 2 Phoenixes still spawned there. Goes the cavalry charge, but he doesn't elect to start out Warchi. The time down to 50%, down to 30%, down to 20, 10, and down it goes. Down goes Julio as well. It's the Pappies that take the game advantage in the finals. Belt Slap down to the losers bracket.
The weekend of upsets. That's all we can say about that. Smiley Face were able to beat Cold Llamas and take 1 game off of Belt Slap. The Poppies taking a full set for the first time this split and the first time this season at all that Belt Slap has even lost a set. So now EU, it's anybody's game, but I would expect that Belt Slap come back into the finals, and I think it's Poppies and Belt Slap with the Poppies taking that game 1.
Oh, the game 1 advantage. How close was this set? It was so close that it was just the fact that they went a bit too aggressive and a bit too focused in on the Scylla that they left Rom to free cast a bit too long. They left Bakasura to free cast a bit too long in those fights. And that 1 game advantage could prove pivotal. I'm expecting to go to a game 5 in that best of 5 finals. And who knows who takes it, because honestly, it was so difficult to call this set. It will be difficult to call that set as well.
2 Titans have entered the battleground, and only 1 came out victorious. The Poppies moving on to the finals. Dolson, what did you guys see? Because we saw some impressive work out of the Poppies.
Yeah, absolutely incredible. Big congrats to the Poppies for taking this set over Belt Slap. Can't count out Smiley Face, though. Belt Slap will be dropping down. Smiley Face have taken a game off of them. Maybe a set is the next step there. But let's break this one down a little bit further with Lermy Wormy. One final time, Lermy, but this time it is the Poppies who complete this 3-game set. They end out on top, and then it's another close game.
Honestly, I'm calling it Marcus drop Nemesis. Everything goes well for the Poppies. It was a very close set, like you said, but even still, now that Marcus is kind of taking that Bakasura away from Johnny, it just worked out so well. It didn't really necessarily play into the style that the Poppies had kind of manufactured, but in fact, it helped to be the distraction to keep Zeros and Arkle on their toes and not able to follow up with the rest of their divers. And even though that was the case, I still gotta hand it to Zeros. I mean, he pulled out a quite impressive performance there. I mean, did you see those snipes? Those were some of the sickest snipes I've ever seen. Like, they were crazy.
Yeah, he hit some big long-range shots, stole away an FG to keep Belt Slap in the game. Would be remiss if we don't mention Warchi. Had 32,000 damage in this game. The next closest was Zeros, but not really anywhere close was anyone on the Poppies. And now you have to look at, we talked about this Nemesis a good bit through the pick and ban phase, but now if you're one of these 2 teams between Belt Slap and Smiley Face, whenever you move up and face the Poppies tomorrow in the grand finals, I think it might be in a conversation where you have to look at this ROM and either pick it away or ban it away, because Warchi looked near unstoppable on it today.
It definitely can, but no Wartree was absolutely swinging. It wouldn't be right to just say that it was all Wartree, because Draco Marino and Creed were there to make sure that everyone was staying away and allowing this ROM to free cast, and that's basically how Wartree likes to play. Draco Marino, like we've been talking about, is one of the most insane supports in the league, and they've finally been able to prove it. They beat the #1 seed, who has yet to lose a set this whole season.
Yeah, it can't be understated. Exactly what we saw here in game number 3 and set number 2 of the day. This one's lengthy, too. I mean, you get a 45-minute, upper mid 30 minutes back-to-back. It's a longer set, especially by Belt Slap standards. But yeah, I think, again, have to look at what the Poppies were able to do gameplay-wise. And the team to beat has always been Belt Slap here, and they mirrored some of those same play styles here. Updated bracketed is the Poppies, who move on to the best of 5 finals. 1 game in hand, so should they win 2 straight tomorrow, well, then they're going to take it. But the enemy team facing them will be decided between Smiley Face and Belt Slap. That's going to be a fun rematch to watch there, Laramie. Of course, this is not all we have here today. EU, we are done with. We have a couple games in NA to decide. Gone to Tahiti versus Bloogie and the Woogies. Baskin and the boys locked and goaded on the other side of a break that we'll be taking in a short moment. But you start to look at that rematch between Smiley Face and Belt Slap. The casters there at the end of this set feeling very confident that it was going to be Belt Slap moving on. Is that a sentiment you seem to echo?
I don't necessarily know. I think that the Poppies taking this set has exposed the weakness of Belt Slap. And if Smiley Face can go into picks and bans with a solid strategy to force them into the strategy that works against them, which the Poppies have been able to show over and over again, they could take it. They've already taken 1, so maybe they go again. And like we said before, ditch the nemesis, hint, hint.
Yeah, right. It's the nemesis ban that somehow ends up biting Belt Slap here when you force the jungler onto the Bakasura. Apparently, that's a bad thing, and it bites him here. So we'll have to see how that Smiley Face matchup with Belt Slap goes tomorrow. That's it for the EU portion of our day. Ladies and gentlemen, we are only halfway done, though. We've got another half of things to settle here. North America right on the other side of this quick break.